So any other changes to the agenda this morning? Okay. Public comment. Let's start here in the room if we can. I'm sorry, any conflict of interest this morning to board members? Hearing none, we'll move into public comment. Good morning, Denise.
Morning. I read the township community newsletter that was sent out, and it was a well done newsletter. Thank you. Clerk Goss had an article regarding the elections in 2024. Anyone running for office has to file a petition by April 23rd, 2024 for the primary August 6th. That is 4 months from now. In 2024, all 5 of the township board positions are up for re-election. After consideration this month, I ask that you return in January with a statement of your plans and file as a candidate. If you know you're not running for your office again, start searching for your successor. Do not wait until March or April to announce you are no longer running for your office. Like most of Northwestern Michigan, Whitewater Township is experiencing change. Our planning committee has listened to our residents and is developing a plan to reflect community needs. Representing and executing the plan is the role of the township board, and in the years to come, we need board members with leadership, vision, and the ability to work together. Whether I'm speaking to you or someone you know who should run for the township board, please help. If you are committed to ensuring that the township character and quality of the life are retained, consider running for office. It's our future. It's your future. We need strong, committed, cooperative leadership for the years to come. Thank you. And I look forward to hearing what you have to say in January.
Anyone else here in Township Hall? All right, anyone out on Zoom wishing to make a comment, please use the raise your hand function.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to use that.
Well, you know what? That's a fair statement. And so I would yield the floor to your public comment today.
Okay, my name is Everett Horton, 1251 6th Street, Pentwater, Michigan. I'm just looking for a follow-up on an incident of a dog attack on November 2nd when we was up there for the Iceman bike race. I was just sort of trying to follow up with it because this dog will bite and attack somebody eventually. I'm sure you looked into the zoning of short-time rentals. I'm sure you probably have looked into that. But I wanted to follow up on this because I was afraid for my life. I mean, this dog did not bite me, but the encounter lasted a long time. And what happened is that every time we wanted to leave the house, I had to go outside first and make sure my wife, daughter, and her husband would get in the car safely. Like I said, I didn't get bit, but if I would have, because of my age, medical condition, and so forth, it would not have been nice. And I have some video I tried sending it that I took from the inside of this dog actually hitting the picture window in front of the house when I was videotaping them. I'm waiting for some kind of follow-up from the animal control. If I don't get it, I will take the time to drive 140 miles because this is not going to be the end of it. And sort of, if your legal advisors is there, you're sort of put on notice that you got a vicious dog in your area, so that sort of changes the water on the minnows because now you know about it. And that's all. Thank you for giving me the chance. And for Ron, I read your report. I looked up your minutes from your last meeting and the report you give us. And that's how I got some of the information for this meeting also. So thank you very much. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Melissa, I see your hand is up.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Good morning. I hope everybody has had a chance to review the ARPA agreement further. I certainly have offered and hope that if there's any questions or anything, I can help throughout the process today. Any questions, if you as a board would allow any questions to be asked or answered, I hope to be on Zoom during that time frame. But I based on the minutes and the comments noted, question by Supervisor Pop, I certainly think that most of, if not all of these questions are overcomable. They can be answered. And as I stated in the last meeting, that $97,000 of ARPA funding is a pretty important thing to this community. And I think even if you're looking at the cost aspect of administration fees, I think that's something that can be implemented into the cost of the project itself and be paid for through ARPA funding. So there's ways around it. And I also would say from the county's aspect, I think, I'm not sure if it's him or not, but I think Daryl might be in the room. But from the county's aspect, I feel that they have been very supportive. Their language and their attitude and everyone I've talked to has been very, giving in that they're willing to help us. They're not going to just hang us out to dry. And make sure that we get the funding administration portion of it handled. So I just wanted to make those comments. When it comes to the cost of the project itself, I don't know if Don Glenn will get into any of the details or if he remembers all of them, but we did do our due diligence at the time when we were doing the ARPA to get an estimated cost from and through the Grand Traverse County District, and contacted some engineers, asked them questions in terms of project costing and things like that, just to get an idea of values. So it wasn't something that we just hodgepodged together. And yes, scope of work may change. As you guys know from the last meeting, you have allowed us to move forward with the preliminary engineering evaluations. So that's underway, and hopefully that'll give us a little bit more to go from. So anyway, I think the scope of work, could change. And if it does, that's fine. I do believe that between the $97,000 of ARPA and the $85,000 in local ARPA funding, I feel that this project can be a huge success for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom wishing to speak? I see none, so we will move then to our rearranged agenda item. And I have that on electronic packet page of 193 for any of those folks following along. Gary, if you would make your way up to the podium.
What
Good
page
morning,
did you
sir.
say that was? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
What page?
packet page 193.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll make a motion to appoint Gary Buskowski as an alternate to the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, term to end 12/31/2026. I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll
I have
call.
one.
Okay, you almost missed your chance.
I know.
Hi, Heidi.
Hi. The other night, you challenged the PC for something.
I did.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
You should probably challenge the board too. You got my vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call when ready.
Bomuth,
Yes.
Bennett. Yes. Hop,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, yes.
Well, normally there's a few questions, Gary, but apparently everybody maybe logged on to your website or whatever the case is. There will be a few paperwork items that if you could meet up with Clerk Goss to get those employment documents completed, that'd be perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Look forward to working with you.
Look forward to serving this community.
All right. So I think then that takes us back to reports and presentations. And I see that Daryl is here this morning. Good morning, sir. Welcome to Whitewater Township.
Morning, I was able to find it this morning.
Well,
It's not
you know, we
snowy.
try to stay in one spot when
Yeah.
possible.
Yep, it's not snowing too bad. There's not a blizzard out there, so. Hello, congrats to the new member. It's always great to see community members taking up the role of public service. It's not always easy. It's not always fun, but it's rewarding and your community needs it. So thank you. So for my report, we're at the end of the year. We're kind of finishing up budget items. Overall, it's a good revenue year. But the township or the county board and administration is together on the attitude that we are not going to just expand because there's money to expand. We're trying to maintain the services that we have. The staff number might change slightly, but the idea is we don't need to just expand to fill available monies. So that's been the attitude, trying to fix things where they need fixing, but for the most part, stay the course on the number of staff, the number on how we're operating, and not just spending money because it's there. The last year we did increase our fund balance policy to 30% from 20%, from the standpoint of just being financially responsible. We've all seen the ups and downs of the world that can happen, and you can't put money away when times are really tough as easily as you can when times are better. So we're trying to take that attitude of being fiscally responsible and having that money set aside for the inevitable times when it's not always as rosy. So that's been our attitude there. In the past, I talked about Grand Traverse Pavilions that was spending a whole bunch of all of our money and on some things. And I was one of the ones who was appointed to the committee to look into their business. I've learned an awful lot about running a medical care facility, especially a county owned one, and knowing enough that it's a very strange business. Healthcare, I used to be on a healthcare board. It's a a strange world. It's different than anything else that I've ever been involved in. That being said, short answer is those monies are all coming back, and we have confirmation of that. The long answer is there was 3 different pots. There was a lawsuit with Pace North of about 1.2 million. There was money from Medicare and Medicaid that was like 5.3 million, which was the big bulk of it, which is what caused the problem for the county having to pay through vouchers. And the short story is they had to go back through 2019, 20, 21, 22, and 23 and rebill every single bill through Medicare. There's a funding process of how they fund, how much they fund, and all that kind of stuff. You don't need it. I could talk about it for half an hour and probably put you all to sleep, but federal government being what it is, that's what they had to do. So they've gotten those approved. So they said, yep, we're going to pay you back. Now it goes over to this department and they're going to look at it for a while and cogitate, but they can't change our decision, but they just have to approve it to move on to the payment schedule. So this month, we've already getting some of that money, and then next year, throughout the year, and maybe even into 25 before we get some of that money. But we think by the end of 24, the county is going to be made whole again. There was another pot of money, which is a whole nother story, but all of those, we have the answers. It's coming in. So the next question really was, going forward, how do we ensure that this doesn't happen again? Is this a viable organization? And so we've set up a metric that's like a financial metric, all the things that create sales and all the things that are costs. And it's a monthly thing. It's a somewhat simplified report because if you're looking at long columns and stuff, it's not as easy to just kind of hit the highlights. So they have set a goal of 145 residents. Of course, in that business, and I say this, but I want to qualify, they lose about 12 residents a month. That doesn't mean people have passed away. There are people who are in there for rehab, those type of things as well. It's a part of their business. But so there's a constant churning of people. And a lot of times that means that people have gotten better moving out. That is a good reason. But so there's a recruitment effort going in. There's a better connection with Munson Hospital because they have people who have been in the medical care who need long-term care or people who need rehab. So that relationship has been made better. But anyway, they've goaled at 145 patients, which is, they're above that right now. I don't know today's census, but they've been running above that. And that's their goal, to be profitable, with the idea that anything above that, so that's a very conservative goal, will even be more profitable. So we've got that in place. We have another meeting again this coming Monday. We're meeting about once a month with them, with the director, the finance director, all that. They're also undergoing a search for a new executive who they've had some very good candidates. I think very shortly we're going to have a new director. The interim that came in was supposed to be here through January 1, but he's willing to stay on to help with any kind of transfer. He's been very good. I think the change in administration there was a very good thing. The staff has been really emboldened. They've also undergone a new computer system where there's iPads and things on the wall. So as they do things, used to be a lot of paperwork. They showed us, I mean, there was stacks of boxes and stuff by month. And we kind of got them into the 90s with using, I say we, it wasn't us that did that. It was them. I shouldn't take credit for something I didn't do, but they have this new system, which of course causes hiccups, everything, but the staff really likes it because there's a lot less paperwork, a lot less time, and the things get recorded, which is also good from an inspection standpoint, because when they do the inspections, if it's not written down, you didn't do it, you don't get paid for it. So that's the world of medical care. There was another topic I was going to discuss. I'm trying to remember what that was. I'll think of it in a minute. The last topic I want to talk about was the ARPA thing, depending on how you guys want to move forward, it's still available, it can still happen. The county's been really good about working with people. I certainly understand the concerns of paperwork and all that kind of stuff. But we also have a $10 million exclusion where it's just kind of county. We have some back end stuff with the feds. But I think you would fall under that. So you're really kind of working with the county only. But I'm not sure. But I'm happy to help you guys if you decide to go forward with that project. There is, I'll offer my help. A lot of that help is going to be putting you in contact with the people at the county who are very familiar with this. You don't want me filling out the forms and making sure that you've ticked and talked all the things you need to, but we can get that done. So I'm not remembering the other topic I was going to talk about, so I'll shut up now. Talked long enough. Any questions for me?
I have a question.
Yes.
What's the latest update on the pension issue? You know, there was quite a unfunded liability there.
At the
Uh,
county or
at
at the
the county.
pavilions?
Yeah,
We bonded that. We got a sub 2% interest rate too. It wouldn't have been right to bond. It probably wouldn't have been right now. Interest rates have gone up, but we were right down the valley. So we got a 199 bond. So we completely paid that off.
okay.
And
You've
we've
completely
continued,
paid off the
we
bond?
completely paid it off with the bond. Now we got the bond and we've been paying more than we were paying before on that bond, but it's a fixed payoff. It funded us at the 105% or whatever. Now then, since then, of course, the stock market kind of dropped dropped some, so it dropped that percentage down a little bit. But everyone kind of, how that goes up and down. So, but it was the timing was just right that we were able to get in and get that bond sold, and interest.
Do you know when the scheduled payoff is? How many years? Don't. If you don't know, that's
don't
okay.
recall right now.
Okay, that's a-
We did that, I want to say that was November of 22. I'd have to look that up, but it's been a while since we did that, so I don't remember the payoff on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
All right,
Good
thanks.
to see you.
Yeah, nice seeing you guys.
Brandon, good morning.
Good morning. Brandon Flynn, Whitewater Township Fire Chief. So we had 6 calls in November. Kind of low key for us, which is good because we spent the month trying to get ready for winter. So all of our vehicles are pretty much ready. We haven't gotten the snowmobiles out yet because we've only had just a few inches of snow here and there, but they are ready to go along with the Kubota. So we did our annual physical appointments in November. So luckily everybody passed, including me. So that's always a good thing. I did write a 2% grant for some turnout gear. We'll keep the PPE thing going for the year of 2023. I'm still waiting to hear from the Department of Treasury. That's kind of making me a little nervous. I'm not sure what's going on with that grant, but there's like $7,200 that I don't know, they said they were gonna pay us and I haven't seen anything yet. So I did resubmit all of our paperwork that they requested. So I might get with Supervisor Pop a little bit later this week and we can maybe figure that out, see what happens. I know they extended the deadline for the paperwork to December 31st, but
No,
we already have ours in.
Yeah.
We haven't heard anything, so. Department of Treasury, this was kind of a new grant for them, and I don't think they typically administer grants, so the whole process has been kind of clumsy. As far as grants go. But anyway, that's something we're still working on. Today, in fact, I can't stick around too long, but our fire engine is in for a second DOT. So hopefully that goes a little bit better, but Fick and Sons did not want to DOT it because of a couple issues. And he never really told me that until they brought it back. Which was also concerning, you know, I'm like, I gotta have this thing DOT'd, right? So we're kind of working on the engine debacle. And that's it, unless you have any questions, comments, concerns.
Just to be clear, we do have a backup fire engine, so it's not like we're without.
Right. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, when we ordered the pumper tanker, that's why we call it a pumper tanker, because it is technically a class A pumper as far as NFPA goes, so we can just move over a couple of items, mostly just the medical equipment. And then it functions as a first response pumper, so.
So we're able to respond as normal. For
as
anyone
normal.
listening thinking we don't have a fire engine, we
That's
can
correct.
respond as normal.
Yep,
Okay,
you
Excellent.
betcha.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Heidi.
Good morning. Know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow you gotta come back to work at 7 o'clock. So let's start our day at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, so that our attention span goes through the whole meeting. Come on, we can do it. Everybody take the morning off tomorrow, sleep in. And that way everybody will be bright and able to sit a couple hours for the PC meeting. That'd be awesome. I don't want to hear any complaints. Start your day late enough tomorrow so that it doesn't interrupt it. Thank you.
Don?
Yeah, other than what I just put some material into the consent, into the package. I was unable to attend the November meeting. So I really don't have any follow-up. I saw that Melissa, chairperson for the BRAC, had submitted an item directly to you to add to the packet, which we'll discuss later.
Sure. Moving into consent calendar, I have one question, Ardella. On your report, used to show the tower removal fund. Where did I miss it at?
Let me get to it. Bring my glasses out so you know what's happening.
You need glasses at your young age?
Yeah, just keep smoozing. Okay, what page are we on, Ron?
So I have it on electronic packet, page 8. That's where I placed my note.
Here you go, Heidi, thank you.
Says tower removal right on it, on page 9.
On page 9. Oh, there it is, under general fund. Okay. So on page 8, that's really just a summary of everything that's broken down on page 9. Got it. Okay.
Got it?
Yep.
My reports haven't changed in 9
Well,
years.
You know,
They are laid out the same.
I remember the tower fund having its own line item. And I guess, obviously I'm wrong. So. All good.
Isn't it more like 15 down?
What?
The years you've been here?
Something like that, but I can't say for anything past
2000.
9.
Oh,
I can't be held accountable for those.
I have several comments on some things that are in the consent calendar.
Okay.
Okay, in Ron Pop's report, he comments that the clerk continues to obstruct the FOIA process. I'd like to advise the board that the supervisor routinely obstructs the clerk's duties and has for years by not providing fully executed contracts, agreements, etc. for filing in the official record. Recent case in point, it has been 4 weeks today since the snow removal contract was approved, yet the fully executed contract has not been provided to the clerk's office. Should an invoice be received from the snow removal company, we will not be in a position to verify the accuracy of the billing without the fully executed contract. Another example that comes readily to mind, the fully executed Metro Act permit for 186 Networks has not been provided to the clerk's office, despite it having been approved a very long time ago. In my report regarding my use of the phrase Vicky Beam's lawsuit, you were all emailed yesterday, the first page of the legal document received 9/25 regarding the ZBA's decision. Clearly, Vicky Beam is listed as a plaintiff in the matter. Since we don't know who the members of this group Keep Whitewater Rural are, it is not improper to refer to it as Vicky Beam's lawsuit. In Heidi's report, she refers to some alleged clamor by the public to return to evening meetings. Everyone should be reminded that the resolution approving fiscal year meeting dates and times was brought in February of this year and included 9 a.m. meetings. It was unanimously approved, including by Heidi. Regarding Heidi's comments about the lack of a Zoom facilitator, the last we heard on that topic is that Ron Pop was going to produce a Zoom facilitator job description. We have not seen hide nor hair of that document. Regarding Heidi's comments, and it's been quite a while since the Zoom facilitator quit. Regarding Heidi's comments about having to do the 10-19 minutes, let the record show that as of today, 4 weeks after the 10-19 minutes were approved, and despite a specific email request sent to her for same, the approved 10-19 minutes have not been placed on the township website nor provided in any other manner. As such, they are missing from the official minute book. Additionally, Heidi has not submitted a timesheet as required for the alleged 10 hours it took her to prepare the minutes and synopsis of 10-19. I suspect the 10 hours she claims to have spent includes a lot of time being coached by Ron Pop on how to use a computer. The time spent trying to expand her computer literacy should not be listed on the timesheet and is not properly an expense of the clerk's office. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Sure, I might as well respond to that. Right, did we spend several hours on a computer discussing the minutes? Yes or no?
There were several phone calls involved with respect to a file that was emailed. And it had a very similar name. And so, yes, there
So
was
there
some
was a
time
little bit
spent.
of confusion.
Yeah, but that was all in how the file was saved and resaved after you had
Correct.
made some adjustments with page numbers or something like that.
So, Cheryl, knowing that, apparently you must eavesdrop on his phone conversations or something, or you must have the place bugged. But if you would have listened to it, it was just back and forth. I was having trouble submitting the report. However, I have not turned in a timesheet yet, Cheryl, because you know what? I was thinking I might be Merry Christmas, but you know what? Because of your concerns and you think it was just a simple process, I'm going to turn in a timesheet, Cheryl. And I don't know why you haven't put the minutes on there. You were given the minutes and then, properly. If you don't have the minutes, I'll gladly print them out for you and give them to you.
It's your job to
How-
put the approved
Oh, hold
minutes
on a
on the
minute.
website.
I get that, Cheryl.
And
But
I,
here's
and
what
you haven't sent them
bothers-
to me, so I don't have them. I've never
Here-
seen the document.
Okay,
Approved minutes you have not supplied 4 weeks after they were approved.
okay,
Who says it's her job to put them on the website?
yeah, it was just my job to take the minutes, Cheryl. But hey,
That's part of,
That
That's
must be
part of
your
the-
rule.
that's
yeah, it
part-
is a new rule. We got all kinds of new
Well,
rules for
but
her all the time,
if you
Cheryl.
put them on the website, I could print them out for the minute book, but you haven't supplied them on the website nor in any other manner. So I do not have
Nor-
approved minutes for 10/19. The only minutes that are out there are your draft minutes. Those
Okay,
are
so
not
you do have
suitable.
minutes, you got drafts, so don't make comments because you have
But
drafts.
she needs it approved for the
I
official book.
understand that.
Well, the statute
Certain.
says that approved minutes are supposed to be available 3 business days after they're approved.
So did you not approve them last meeting?
I don't have the Word file of your minutes to take the draft
the
watermark off.
Oh,
All I have is a
Hmm.
PDF document.
well, Cheryl, then we'll have to fix it. So, apparently fixing it with you is gonna be even a major problem, so I'll have to figure that out. Not afraid to figure anything out,
You just
Cheryl.
have to take the draft watermark off and note that they were approved on 11/14.
Do you think you could take the draft off for me, Ron? Do you think that could be possible, that someone could take the draft off of it? Apparently no one wants to do the job here. Okay,
I don't have
Figure
the
it
Word
out.
file to do it. I wasn't supplied with the Word file, only a PDF.
During a meeting, it was approved that Heidi would be paid for the meeting minutes. Correct? Are you saying you haven't been paid?
no, I'm gonna turn in my timesheet. I just
Okay,
have to
Part of doing
finish
the
it.
meeting minutes is
I get it.
completing the process. There's no need to get snarky
I'm
about
not
it.
getting
She's
snarky
just
here.
pointing out she doesn't have them.
I understand that, but now there might be more time.
Well, I'm thinking that we probably have a mismatch of communication here. Same thing's happening on my credit cards, right? In this month's payable, you'll see that there's only one fee paid. And so I don't know what's going wrong there, but communication with the clerk's office is broken, period. It's broken. Maybe not for you, but it is for me, definitely is for Heidi. And so, you know, when these situations come up that need some type of attention, like Cheryl saying, provide me the approved minutes without the draft. I mean, this is Heidi's first time. Can't we cut her any slack at all? I
She was
guess
sent
not.
an
Yeah,
email.
I'm talking, thank you. I'm
Okay,
talking.
she was sent an email
So,
a couple
um,
weeks ago.
I
You
think
know,
the only email I
requesting the
got
approved
was
minutes.
put the numbers on it.
I
but
think-
Okay,
it's a simple fix to remove a watermark.
Very simple.
So if that's all that needs to be done, then that's all that needs to be done. So we can, I can show you how to do it if it's in Word, or if you put the watermark on in PDF, I can show you how to remove that. It's 2 different software, so I don't know where the watermark exists. I don't know. But under a minute is what it takes.
awesome.
So I'll be more than happy to help. Anyone else? Approval of the consent calendar? Your emotion out there?
Yes.
Okay.
Approved.
I'll make a motion to approve this consent calendar.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Gus, no. Raman,
I'm gonna say yes, just because you said no.
Glenn,
Well,
Glenn,
Yes.
Pop,
No.
Bennett,
Yes.
Brings us to unfinished business number 1. Let's back to page 150 for those following along. Is there a motion to reconsider?
I'll make the motion to reconsider.
I'll second.
Motion made, and seconded, further discussion. Um, I would like to point out, I'd like to acknowledge, Ron, your work on the summary and the analysis and the summary of the document from Grand Traverse County. As mentioned, in the November meeting, the county document is written favorably towards them, but I don't say that that's a deliberate act. I think it's just the nature of the requirements that are attached to the fund. And I think that the county has to do what the county needs to do to protect they have a lot of money in that pool, albeit we have access to some of it. This is a situation that I had articulated at the last meeting, that there's nothing in here that's really subject to negotiation. It's a question of having eyes wide open. And I think that at the point in time last meeting that we were discussing it, we didn't have this level of detail. There was a lot of effort put into this, and I appreciate what you've done on this. But my reservations still stand. It's not that the document, as I stated last meeting, it was suggested that I be the one to sign the document, and I will not be doing that. There's encumbrances and reporting and things in here that have to be done, and I'm not going to fight for access for data and spend the time on this. I think the process is in motion, as Melissa Melton pointed out earlier in November. They've started on getting some preliminary engineering work done, which I think is necessary to get to the bottom line cost. And that still has to be reviewed as part of this, and the way this agreement's written, barring something unbelievably expensive, we have all the way to the end of December 2024. But in the meantime, if any of my colleagues here are willing to execute this and monitor and satisfy the county requirements going forward, I'm certainly in support of it. But I did want to make sure that everybody understood that there are some encumbrances in here that
Sure.
so.
I'll speak to that, Don. I'm willing to sign it. I'm willing to do the tracking. I'm fairly familiar with it. Actually, it sounds like it's not as encumbrance of a process as what we've been dealing with, reporting directly to the federal government. So, and it sounds like if we have questions, Daryl's gonna point us in the right direction of who to talk to. after reading through this, you're right, Don, it's a pretty standard protect the county kind of contract.
Mhm.
I didn't see as many, I mean, I appreciate everything you did, Ron, going through here and pointing these all out, but I don't see as many issues with it. I think if you look long enough, you can find the sky falling in anything you do. And I guess I'm just not one of those kind of people. I believe they've done a lot of their research. I don't know about the number you came up with, this 10%, which would put us well over 300K. I see that as a stretch. I think you're being more devil's advocate than anything on that. And again, I appreciate that, but I don't find it as realistic. I think they've been generous with us on letting us actually do this after their deadline. Maybe other townships are having issues. I don't know, but other townships are signing this, so they don't see the problems. Or if they do, they find them acceptable and workable. And I think that's where I'm at. I find them acceptable and workable.
Are you done?
I am, thank you.
One of my concerns from last month is that you and I have tag team the federal reporting, right?
Yep.
And I didn't want to take this on by myself. I think the tag team has worked out well. You were on vacation. I was off one time.
Yeah,
So
I did the
that-
first, you did the
That
second.
method has really been beneficial for us. And without you being here, I couldn't commit to you. And
Right.
so, at least I didn't think it was fair. I didn't think you would have a problem with it, but
I don't, obviously, I just volunteered for it, so.
yeah. And so I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot. I apologize.
That's okay.
How many invoices do you currently have for our federal guideline report?
I don't have any, everything that
Correct.
I had.
We
went with
don't
the
have
book.
any. We don't have any, but yet we have paid 2 vendors. And so we need those invoices
For reporting,
for reporting, right?
because you have to upload them.
Yep, absolutely.
So
And so we need the clerk.
If you don't have them, you haven't asked for them.
she's correct with that. We
Yep.
just need to ask for them.
That's right. Copies of the
And
checks
I'll
are right
be
in here. You
quite
can come
honest
and
with
get them
you.
and
I
make a
don't
copy
want to,
yourself.
I don't want to collect them at the time they're happening. I'd rather collect them all at the same time when we do the reporting. And I can handle that.
So thinking about this project, it will be much different than the fire truck and the 2 internet companies. So we're going to have a lot of vendor tracking, in other words, that we don't have currently. And the rules have changed as of early November, right? There's a new set of interim rules out there that I've not completely read. And I think we're currently in the comment period, or it might have just closed on November 30th. So the rules that you and I were familiar with, they're not there anymore. They are new.
Well, I'm gonna be optimistic and say they've made it simpler and
And
more
I,
straightforward.
from what I gleaned from the changes, and I read somebody's summary of the changes. It was mainly in definitions
Okay.
and ease of reporting, because so many of the local units that were reporting were struggling to make the reports that you and I made. And so I think you're right, but without a full review of it, I'm uncomfortable using somebody else's cliff notes, but it is what it is. I only had a short time here, and the rules are 600 pages long,
Yeah, I know.
or at least were. So that's a lot of work.
There's a lot of reading there. And I've done it, you've done it. The hardest part was making sure that we had everything and we're uploading it correctly. Because if you upload it, you look like it's been accepted and it's not, there's nothing comes back and says it's not.
Right, there's no
You have to go,
verification.
yeah, you have to go in and constantly monitor it.
Mhm.
So I look at this as an easier process because who we're reporting to is the county. The county is the one that has to adhere to all the new federal reporting for this project.
No, we have, in this contract, it makes us responsible to
It
do
sure
that.
Right,
does.
but
And
when you
so-
look at, their reporting, when you look at the documents for reporting, it's very simplified compared to what you and I had to learn to deal with.
But I
So,
suspect we'll have to supply the same documents to the county because they'll have to upload the same stuff. But
yeah,
it's a doable task.
I mean, I'm looking at the form, the reimbursement request form, and that's the other thing, this is a reimbursement grant.
Correct.
So, you know, if something should happen and we get further down the line and before any monies are spent, you know, there's always an opportunity to change your mind.
And so that was one of my thoughts too, to paraphrase some of Don's comments. He often uses off-ramp as a visual generator, right? And so we do have an off-ramp here in the termination clause for convenience. And we can really do that without any penalty up until 12/31 of 24. Okay,
And you know, and I want to bring up you brought up a date, which reminded me, you bring up the issue of new incoming board
Mhm.
and having to have somebody track this. If we're tracking it and we've done a good job of putting the material together and making the copies, anybody coming in behind us should have no problem following what we're doing. We need to leave the roadmap.
You know, I remember the roadmap I got.
For me,
No,
I was
from
gonna
my
say, I thought
predecessor,
you left a good
from my
one.
predecessor.
Oh, well,
And
but we're talking about ARPA reporting here. I thought I left you a pretty good roadmap. The
And you
book was
did.
this thick.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So the other thing is obviously, you know, we still have several items in question on that particular trail. So we have an off ramp, 11/24. During the height of an election, I don't think anybody's gonna off ramp. So,
well, you're gonna know well before then how it's working. I would think.
what is working?
How this grant is working, how we're coming along with the actual process of getting ready to spend this money, the engineering plans, the bid process, all that. We're gonna have a good idea how this process is actually coming down before any money is actually spent. Before those dates, I would think.
That was my initial thought. Yep. Yep, I concur with that. And then because this is a reimbursive type grant, we really won't have any funds, physical dollars, that we have to create a new federal or a county fund for.
Right.
But we will still have to receive those funds in. And for tracking purposes, would it be better if we started what is our federal fund called? Federal fund?
I think that, yeah, I think that's what it's called.
So would it be beneficial for us to create a county fund to receive those funds in and then expense out?
I don't see why not. It
The
would
way you
keep
keep a
it,
difference.
it would keep it very separated. We're not commingling. So to
And you
speak.
can't confuse the two.
Yeah.
By accident.
Well, the federal funds are actually in First Community Bank in their own account.
Right.
So I would recommend opening at the same bank, another account that's for county funds.
I think from the tracking perspective, it would be wise on our part to keep those separate. At least
Yeah,
on
they
the
would be separate accounts. They would come their own statements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that something that you would handle then?
Yes.
Okay. I'm also of the opinion that if we don't spend any of the county ARPA funds, and we decide to take an off ramp before 12/31/24, we have no reporting requirements.
I would say that would be correct, because we haven't, there's no reporting if you haven't spent, correct?
Correct. I would think so.
We haven't received the money.
I
Yeah.
have these departments.
Yeah,
We have a lot of people working in there at the county who are very familiar with the forms. I don't want to answer something.
Jenny is very helpful and you put me in touch with her, so thank you very much. She's been very helpful through this entire process.
If you guys feel like you're not getting any answers, please let me know and I will.
No,
help
Jen,
in any way. I don't want to be the guy that answers. I'm not that familiar with the process.
sure.
On purpose, we've got people that are doing it. We need to try to, then you got doing cooks in the kitchen.
Well, the reason why we're asking is with the federal funds, even, and keep in mind, we've already received that money from the federal government. If you don't spend it, you still have to produce a report showing $0 spent in that reporting period.
That sounds plausible.
But with this being a reimbursable, I would think that there's no reporting if you haven't asked for the money.
That's kind of my take on it.
That sounds correct.
And so, pending this discussion, I guess, last month, we approved like $6,800 for some preliminary trail engineering. Long as we don't use ARPA funds for that expense, we've not committed to that project, our ARPA funds, our federal ARPA funds, right? So one of the new terms that have come out is obligation. And they've defined obligation when we have to assign our federal funds by 12/31, right?
Yep.
We have to do that.
Yep.
So far, we've only allocated them to 3 different departments, right? Fire, internet, and park and rec.
Yep.
That's what the board's done so far. But we still have to obligate all of our federal funds, not county funds, federal funds by 12/31. According to the new rules, my understanding, and this is my personal understanding, not from somebody else's summary, is that obligation means a contract signed with a vendor. Okay?
Yep.
So I think we've done that for internet. I think we've done, I better be careful there. And I think we've done that for fire.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, but we've not done anything with park at
Right.
this point. So again, pending how this discussion comes out about the trail, we are going to have a plan B. Otherwise, we're going to forfeit our federal funds.
I think what has to happen, this is just my opinion, we need to see the total cost for the entire plan. Once we know that, we can start on the plan, implementing it with the current ARPA federal funds we have. And then we get reimbursed by the county for the money we've spent that are ARPA funds. And then we can spend those monies
Okay,
to complete the project. And I think it fits in the timeline doing it that way, but we have to know what the costs are first.
but if we use any ARPA fund, either county or our federal direct, that means the project is a go,
Yes,
and we have to finish it,
I agree.
no matter the cost.
But I would like to see in the plan, 2 different plans. One, we have all the money from both situations. This is the entire project. Or we only have the federal funds. How much can we get done with that?
Well,
Do you follow why I'm saying that?
I think I have my own ideas, but your explanation would be helpful.
Okay. If we're worried that we're not going to be able to spend the federal ARPA money in time, we don't have a contract committing it by the dates, the 12/31, then if we have a two-stage project, we can use that money and get the contract signed for the first stage.
It has to be the whole project.
But that's why I said I wanted to see two different plans, one with just the limited and one with full. That can be eventually implemented all the way through.
I see.
Now, do you see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I do.
I'm not sure I was explaining that properly, but
As an alternate plan, we could just reallocate those funds from rec to park. Or not to park, to fire. I
that's
mean,
not what I was saying.
Yeah, no, I know, but as a last ditch effort, if we came down to, December 26th of 2024. And we still weren't sure about park. We could, as a board, just reallocate those funds.
That would be last ditch effort.
Reallocate county funds or township ARPA funds?
Township ARPA
Direct.
funds, the federal ARPA. money.
Direct ARPA
That's what
funds.
he
Well,
talked
those are,
about.
well, they all came from the feds.
Right.
But there's township that we were given directly, and there's this grant award from the county from their federal ARPA funds.
So it's not like we would be returning those funds. We could come up with a plan, I
It'd be
think.
reallocating them.
As you say, last ditch, right? I'm not looking to take funding away from the park or rec. I'm not looking to do that. I'm looking to just have an offering, again, borrowing your phrase. I'm sorry, you were gonna say something.
No, I did kind of got stated in there, so since we. Okay.
So I have a question for Della. You have a suggestion that a separate account, bank account, be set up as well as a separate fund. We'd have to set up a separate fund for the county ARPA funds. What are you gonna start that account out with? What money will go into that account?
I believe to let us open the account with $5, Cheryl. And that's all we
Okay.
need.
So then let me ask you this. Because the county only reimburses if you're gonna pay for expenses out of that fund,
It's gotta be there first.
it's gotta be there first. So how are you going to pay out of a new fund when there's no money in it?
Well, the money's gonna come in at some point.
But you gotta pay the expenses before you can get reimbursed. So where is that money going to come from?
Well, it'll have to come out of rec. Park and
Because
Rec.
currently the adopted budget for this fiscal year shows the $95,917 coming into the rec fund. That is the adopted budget. So it was contemplated also that, and it shows in the budget document, which you all have, the annotations at the bottom show the township's ARPA funds, which are sitting in the federal fund right now, being transferred to the rec fund. And the combination of, well, I'll stop there. Shows those funds coming into the rec fund. So, and being allocated to, I believe, this trail project, from my memory of it. So we can't pay out of a fund that we don't have any money in. We can't pay expenses out of a fund that we don't have any money in.
You're correct.
Did we know we had this grant at last budget cycle?
I'm sure we did. If we put it in the budget.
My recollection was that the award came out in December of 2022. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna look Daryl, I'm not gonna swear by anything.
That's
That
probably right.
sounds
Yeah.
about the right timing. Yeah.
Yeah, Cheryl's right. It's right here in our budget. Losi Road Nature Trail Wet Area Mitigation, 130,000. That's what we plan as capital expenditures for this current fiscal year we're in now. It shows the transfers in from other funds is just the 81,258 of the ARPA funds for township. It doesn't take into account the money, the 96 or 97,000 from the township because, or from the county, because at that point we didn't know if we had the grant. or not.
Well, no, it does. Look under revenue
I am looking
in the
at
rec
revenue.
fund. 95,917 is in there under grants. In fact, it's the only revenue pretty much coming into the rec fund. The others are transfers.
Gotcha.
They're not shown in revenue. They're shown in revenue in another line item, transfers from other funds.
Gotcha.
So with that thought in mind, could we just use the grant line item as the county funds for our internal tracking, right? I mean, as you say, we have to leave this roadmap. Could we use the grant line? What happens if we get another grant?
From the county or
From
anywhere?
from anywhere, right?
That's what we do now, is it not?
What's that?
When we receive grant money in. It is separated by fund
By fund.
and we have a separate line item. This is grant funds.
Mhm.
But we'd have to
590.
put it in the. It goes into general. Sorry, I have to make this bigger. I can't see. Okay. Yeah. Parks and Rec. They also have grants, it says private sources. 590?
That's in several of the funds.
When the money comes in, you put it in there. And it gets expensed out of there. Gets expensed out first. in this
Here's
particular one.
here's something that we've run into with the fire fund. So, the chief has been, very aggressive in vehicle replacement. And so the snowmobiles were replaced, the chief's vehicle was replaced, the brush truck has been replaced, and now we're in the process of replacing the current fire engine with the new fire engine. So before I could do this resolution for fire, so to back up, out of the fire capital improvement fund 406, those expenditures have come out of that fund. We're done with pretty much everything except this new fire truck, but there's a little bit of money left over from the snowmobile purchase, the chief's vehicle purchase, the brush truck purchase, although that one might be a tad bit over. So, before we can do a resolution that says how the fire truck, the new fire truck is going to be paid for, we have to know where we're starting from with what money is in the fire capital improvement fund that can be allocated to the fire engine. So Treese went through and went through all the expenses out of the fire capital improvement fund for the last 3 years and added up what was spent on each of those capital improvement items. And so I think we wouldn't have had to do that if I had had the forethought to create some other line items underneath the underneath the 970 capital expenditure line item in the fire capital improvement fund, which would be designated, you know, like it's 406 000 970. Okay, 971 could have been the snowmobiles, 972 could have been the chief's vehicle, 973 could have been the brush truck, and you keep, and then you move actually money into those. So you're tracking, you have the instant picture, you just pull that report, that general ledger report for that capital expenditure account that's assigned to this particular capital expenditure. I think that's what we're going to have to do in the rec fund if we're going to have the, because here again, you've got to have some capital to start working with in order to spend money on this county ARPA fund project.
So what you're
So
saying
I'm
is no
saying-
different than the park project, the waterways project. That was a reimbursable. That's a reimbursable grant. for
Yeah,
$200,000.
that's reimbursable,
So-
but what I'm saying, I'm talking about tracking expenses. Yeah, there had to be money in the park fund. Well, and the park fund's way in the red now because the money that was gonna go towards the boat launch project was removed from there a year ago. So the park fund's way in the red. And I'm waiting to hear how much they want moved back. Somebody's gonna have to bring a motion, otherwise the park fund's gonna be in the red at the end of the fiscal year. So, what I'm saying is to track various capital improvements, I think we're gonna need to create some more line items so that we can say, we can look in, for instance, 972, and we can say all of these checks that were written off this account went to the Lossy Road Nature Trail wet area mitigation and footbridge replacement project, because that is what the money was applied for and awarded for, was for those two improvements on that trail.
So you're saying underneath capital expenditures, create new accounts.
I'm saying create some additional line items, and then you're gonna have to put money in them. Okay, so you can write a check out of that. But it's sort of similar to, you know, you've got this collection of accounts, of expenditure accounts that are underneath any other department. And one you overspent a little bit on, but the money was there, you know, and others you didn't spend as much on, type thing.
So,
But no, I guess we wouldn't
Under-
be allocating money. No, we would be putting the money in the 209 fund, but we would track the expenses for different park project, I'm talking, when I say park, I'm talking parks or rec. Different projects separately so that all anyone has to do, if they want to know how much has been spent on this Lossy Road Nature Trail improvement project, is pull a general ledger report of where all the expenses were paid out of, and those are the checks and the accompanying documentation is your documentation that gets submitted. I don't want to get different projects commingled out of the 970 account in the rec fund, because then it's going to be more difficult to, somebody's going to have to add up each one, you
So,
know?
Yeah,
Because there's going to be other
I'm
projects.
following you. I
Right.
understand what you're saying. It's a
Right.
great idea. But how about for the revenue side? Would you recommend putting more than just one grant in there then to track that money coming back? Like, all we've got is one line item now, 590 grants / private.
Well, we could actually split, maybe we could do 591 for, you know, the county ARPA funds, but here again, these are gonna come in as reimbursements. They're
But you
not
still
gonna
want to
come
track
in.
them though.
No, I get that, but are you going to be tracking those through that line item? I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember what the Baird auditors said about that.
So I think maybe, Ron, what we should do is Cheryl and I should do a little more investigating on it. And then we'll bring it back to the board, what we recommend happens, rather than sit here and try to hash it out now.
So I understand and I concur. So Cheryl was mainly focusing on the expense side of our question,
Yeah.
Ardella. And so at some point in time, Cheryl, your numbering scheme is going to not work anymore. So for example, between 990 or whatever
Capital expenditure,
capital expenditure is
970.
970, you only have 980.
Well, you could change the department number and you start all over with a whole sequence of numbers.
My question was, can you do a 970.001? Is
I'd
that
have to
allowed?
find- Well, yes, some townships do have 12-digit GL numbers. I am not sure if that is something we can do in our system. We don't have the fancy BSNA programs here.
But Ron, sometimes when you set your chart of accounts up, you have one opportunity. This is the format you use. And then if you want to go to a different format, you got to redo your whole chart of accounts in these software programs. So that may be a limitation, is what she's saying.
Yeah, but in my experience of that, if you add additional digits, those just get added to every fund and every line item in each fund.
But I don't know if
Sure,
fund
yeah,
balance
I
has that
understand.
feature.
I understand. I understand.
They are not QuickBooks. That's for
Um,
sure.
No, it's better than QuickBooks, but it's not as good as BSNA.
No, BSNA is very expensive.
That's why we don't have it.
To get into.
Mr. Chair, I asked Chris Forsythe, the county deputy director, about the reimbursement versus advance. And he said that reimbursement is preferred, but we can advance the money with certain procedure and justification. So that is a possibility that we can certainly discuss it. We don't have to be with. I knew that we had done that.
Well, and I also think that is covered in the agreement too.
It is.
And so I thank you for checking on that. But I believe that there is specific language on that. So really getting back to the business item at hand. I'm willing to co-report with you. If you're willing to work with me.
Yeah.
Again,
Yes,
and so should we just have one person sign this? Or I think we both had to sign the federal
yeah,
document.
whatever works, I'm okay with.
Yeah. So, I think that's our business here today. And then how we actually receive the money in and track it. But to be clear, I want to make sure that we don't spend any ARPA money until we do have that process in place. So whatever needs, the fire truck has, well, I can't use that because we're already said and done with those funds, but any need that the Park and Recs department would have, we have to come up with out of general fund or their fund, not ARPA funds. And if we do that. up
Well, there's
until-
no ARPA funds in the rec fund right now, either township or county.
Okay.
There's no ARPA funds in there because we haven't made any transfers. And I believe if you look on the bottom of the 209 fund, second page, there's not a lot of money, as the report shows in the, rec fund. But I believe there is a transfer from the general fund too. That was supposed to go in there. Aren't there like 3 transfers or something, Dal?
Yeah. general
Township
fund
ARPA funds, general fund
And
and,
public improvement fund, we're
right,
gonna move over 25,000.
right.
Mhm.
So there's not even any ARPA funds in the rec fund
Okay.
to spend right now.
So I think we're in the clear to get all these questions answered. Sign the
think-
document, get all the questions answered. And then, as you say, if we get to a point where, we no longer have a park, for example, which is a definite possibility. Or if we decide it's a good project, then we can move forward.
Okay, so,
Full understanding that we have an off ramp until 12/31 of 24.
yep. Yeah, I think we're all understanding that.
Questions or comments, Heidi?
Nope.
Carol?
No,
Nothing further to add.
So I guess we need a motion here. To sign the document. Don proposed a motion. It's in the packet.
Oh, you're talking about the one from last month.
What page is that on?
154.
He looked at me like, you didn't know what I was talking about.
Well, so
On what we just discussed, it says no motion needed at this time pending further discussion.
But
Yeah,
then
but,
further
yeah,
down.
but there was a motion made to reconsider signing the Grand Traverse County ARPA funding agreement. And
next
that was
page.
seconded and then, so.
So do we need more of a formal motion like this?
So.
well, yeah, we need a motion to authorize someone to sign the agreement.
I could see using the motion on packet page 154 as a base, with the exception of adding your department and my department in there. For example, motion to authorize treasurer and supervisor to execute. Does that seem to work?
Yeah, you typing this in, sure.
Mhm.
Continue,
And then the rest is as,
Written.
with the exception of taking out,
Well, it needs to be read.
submitted
what
to
is-
the
what
county
is
by
yeah,
December
it needs to
11th,
be read.
because we're past the December 11th date. So that needs to be changed. The deadline.
I think we could probably drop that. Would that be all right with you? If we
Yep.
just drop it?
Yep.
So then the reading of the motion would go something like motion authorizing the treasurer and supervisor. Actually, it should be supervisor and treasurer, alphabetical order, right?
Mm-hmm. ST.
To execute the American Rescue Plan Act, or but in parentheses, coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds funding agreement for revenue replacement. And I don't think we're revenue replacement, but it is what it is. Required by Grand Traverse County in the amount of $95,917.00. Period.
I'll second that.
Who made the motion?
Ron did.
Roll call when ready.
Bennett,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, yes, Baumit,
Yes.
Pop.
Yes. So after the meeting, Ardella, could you and I spend a few minutes together? We'll get a signature on this document. And I promised Jen that I would get it to her on this day.
Got it.
Okay? And she thought she could still get it into the commissioner's packet. I'll make a motion to have legal prepare a FOIA request for certified copy of responsive documents for FOIA request S-22.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
Well, first I want to correct your gross misstatement in your memo that I was well compensated for being the FOIA coordinator. I was the FOIA coordinator for 9.5 years for this township, and I received exactly 0 compensation for it.
It was included in your base pay. It was a requirement when you ran for office. So you're welcome to say
No,
that you were not paid, but you were highly paid.
I could have given that up the day I took office and said I wasn't going to do it. But instead I did it because the prior clerk had done it. And also, if I was well compensated for it, then you are also being well compensated for it because you're making more money annually than I ever made as FOIA coordinator. So to say also that you're not being compensated for it, it's in your salary.
This particular duty was not listed in the policy and procedure manual as a supervisor duty. So
Doesn't
let's
matter.
not
It just
mislead
doesn't matter. Somebody has to do it. You can either have a board member do it, or you can hire an outside person to do it.
roll call.
Ah,
Yes.
Goss, no. Damian,
Yes.
Bennett,
No,
Glenn,
Yes.
Same page, second motion. Motion to have legal provide an analysis with emphasis on the requester's legal remedies to address public officials who delay providing responsive documents and other possible statute violations, such as but not limited to Public Act 442 of 1976, Freedom of Information Act, Public Act 566 of 1978, incompatible public offices, and the Public Act 328 of 1931, Michigan Penal Code.
I'll second for discussion purposes at this time.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion.
no. Just to be clear. And to be clear, I hate that term, to be clear.
Right.
Um. So. Anybody in, um. In the township that does not do their statutory duty is what you're referring to. We're gonna have legal counsel look at prosecuting or taking them out of office according to these public acts here. Is that what we're looking at here?
We're seeing the same thing happen at the House of Representative level, right? It has to do with a different investigation of the presidential department, right? But because one department doesn't supply the other department with documents, there apparently exists a method. I don't know what that is, but apparently the method exists for remedies. I don't know what those remedies are. I'm assuming it's court-based.
Be careful here. Be real careful about going down this road. That's all I'm gonna say on this, and obviously I'm gonna vote no on this. I don't believe you need to weaponize what's happening here. And that's what, and there's a reason I don't do a written treasurer's report. Because when I first came in office, those reports were being used as a gotcha against each board member. And all it did was cause more infighting and more dysfunction. And I wasn't gonna be a part of it. And I never have been. And I'm not gonna be a part of something like this either. I mean, Ron, if we wanted to turn it around, we could have done something like this, but you not appointing somebody to the planning commission when you should have. But we didn't. It went 2 years. That is a statutory duty that you failed to do.
Oh,
And I've got to tell you, doing something like this to you over that would have not made conducting business at this township board level any easier. Would have made it even worse than it already was. So I'm not a fan of doing stuff like this. I believe that maybe it's time people either accept the way things are and we have an election coming up, or they work a little harder at working with each other.
all we have to do.
You may not like each other personally, but working cordially together is a duty that we all have.
All the board has asked is that those documents be provided and certified. So I can legally do my job as FOIA coordinator. I didn't ask to have the FOIA coordinator job. Matter of fact, I don't want it. But because no one else here would do it, it fell to me by statute. I just want to make sure that there's no gotcha moment at the end of this that says, oh, well, we didn't do this. So, you know, all it takes is for somebody to supply a few pieces of paper. That's all it is. Supply them. It's been 6-8 months. Plenty of time. And the other correspondence, 4 and 5 requests have been made to have other documents. So, you know, this is not the only concern.
Yeah, but as she pointed out, when we were going through the consent calendar, she has an issue with you not supplying signed contracts. And she's asked repeatedly for them.
Well,
So I'm not sure what's going on there either.
That's a good question. Okay, so the Metro Act permit that she refers to was actually delayed so long by her signing it. It's been approved automatically. We only have 45 days to act on it. And so she did not act on it, to my recollection. The board did not act on it within the statutory time.
That's
So
not true.
it was approved automatically.
That's not true.
But still, don't we need a copy of that document in the records?
There is no agreement.
So you're saying
Well,
that,
then they had no authority to install anything.
Yes, they did. They're automatically granted the authority.
Well, we need the agreement in the files, so future, anybody else looking for it can find it.
even if it's
The
not
signed
signed,
agreement.
we don't,
No.
he's saying we don't
No, I
have a
don't put
signed agreement.
unsigned agreements in the files. The
Well, he's saying
signed
there is no
agreement.
signed agreement. He's
Because he
saying,
didn't sign it. He's the one
Actually-
that didn't sign it.
Actually, I did. And,
You've never provided it to the clerk's office.
well, I did.
No,
And, well, I actually saved copies where you put your little red pen on it. So cautious here. Be very cautious.
yeah, I've got those copies too.
Mhm. So I bet my signature's on that. Right?
I'm gonna have to go back and look at what was
Mhm.
wrong with that. I believe what it was is you didn't supply the entire agreement, you just signed the signature page. So in any event, let's get this over with and vote on this motion.
I have one guy, a comment I'd like to make, Ardell. And I heard your comments loud and clear, and I'm viewing this through the prism of the FOIA Act itself, and there is risk to this township. There are remedies to FOIA requesters that do not have information that they can pursue legal remedies. And I think that
The
this
FOIA
situation-
requester.
The FOIA requester, yes.
Yeah, this
So-
that isn't the situation, Don.
Well, I'm saying that we should be aware of what remedies we have in the event that we're faced with that, so.
All FOIA requesters have gotten their documents.
but isn't there ways to find this information out rather than contacting legal and spending more money on it? Isn't that what the MTA is for?
Yeah,
MTA is just an opinion,
More opinions.
not, and the first thing they tell you is check with your attorney. So we just shortcut that process.
well, they're not a substitute for your own attorney's legal advice, and Catherine Mulhopt always makes that very clear. But the MTA is the premier resource in the state of Michigan for Michigan townships. They deal only with Michigan townships. Not like the Michigan Municipal League, which is dealing with cities and villages and whatnot. They are MTA is the comprehensive resource for townships. I know you don't use them, but they have a wealth of information. They have wonderful educational programs. I've been to many of them. And
They have a lot of free training right online.
that's right.
I'm just saying that there might be something in that documentation already that addresses this.
I mean, talk about a waste of money at the attorney's office. We are spending money at a great clip at the attorney's office. Ron is over this qualifying statement issue that's a petty bullshit that he's trying to make an issue out of. Come to find out, the 2022 qualifying statement only had my signature on it. And that's all that's required. So maybe you wanna, have our attorney's office harass Baird, Cotter and Bishop about the 2022 qualifying statement only having my signature on it. The qualifying statement is a required document that has to be supplied. And all the numbers, as Jonathan explained to you, came out of the audit. So you can look at those and you can see that the numbers are correct, and whether who signed it or didn't sign it, somebody has to sign it. So he put your signature on it, probably figuring you'd want your signature on there, as they do with the 30 other townships they audit. And you've made a mountain out of a molehill and already spent close to $2,000 of the taxpayers' money, OPM, other people's money, on what is just petty garbage.
I think you said it best when you publicly stated that Jonathan put my signature on a document I'd never seen.
Well,
So,
he put
thank
my
you.
signature on a document I'd
Thank
never
you.
seen too, but I
Thank you.
trust,
that.
you know what? I trusted Baird as auditors, and I trust Tobin as auditors. So you point to nothing in the statement that's incorrect. You haven't mentioned that at all. You've got no quarrel with what's in the statement. It's just that your signature was put on it and you hadn't seen it. Well, I hadn't seen it either, but I had reviewed the draft audit and submitted a few corrections for it. So anyways, and you can review the draft audit too. If you want the draft audit sent to you, you can have the draft audit sent to you. It's sent to the clerk and treasurer to review before the final audit is printed. That's the audit process. And that was done with Baird too. They sent it to Della and I to review for any glaring errors. We don't check their numbers. I've questioned a couple of them. Where did you get that number? And then, when I got the explanation, then I understood where they got that number, because I'm not an accountant, okay? Not required to be an accountant to have this position. But anyways, the waste of money going on. I mean, we've already spent over $30,000 on the Highmore complaint, and it's ensuing crap that's been going on for well over a year now. And that's not counting the 10 grand that we've spent on the Keep Whitewater Rural and Vicky Beam lawsuit, which only 15,000 is covered by our insurance. So we're going to be over that amount. So the amount of money being spent at the attorney's office, when we should have stood behind our zoning administrator's decision on the Highmore complaint, is ridiculous. But I'm ready to vote. We got to move on. We got to get this meeting over with.
Roll call when ready.
Glenn,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Bennett,
No.
Goss, no, Valmute.
Yes.
Campground concerns. There are several items here that have motions and don't have motions. So if I could have just a little leeway here about motions and whatnot.
Where do you want to start?
So I guess let's start with, does anybody have questions on number one?
That request is in with the appropriate documents, correct?
Yep, and it's been reviewed by the new grant coordinator. It was sent back. We had to make some changes to the submittal and it's back in their lap again.
And
Yeah,
no issues further that we know of.
no
Who's the new
issues.
grant coordinator?
Paul, somebody.
Grant coordinator for who?
Waterways?
Yeah, as it kind of says there, number one. And number two,
Hold on. I guess I don't know. What's number one? Approve Voltage Electric's base bid?
No, he's talking about in his number one.
Bullet point number one. Page 175.
Okay.
number two. It came in late Friday and kind of came in also, I think, on Monday or so. And I handed it out this morning. It's a 2-page document, should look like this. Okay. So as reported earlier, we've got some major erosion concerns out there. I say it's a design flaw. And on late November, we met with 2 principals of F&V along with Andrew Filler on site. Don was there. They even had one other person there who was taking some additional drone images. Out of all those well-qualified people, apparently nobody had an idea on how to make water run down a hill without creating damage. So when I followed up with Andrew, here is his drawing of the proposed changes and the $25,000 price tag to go with those changes. No location on the site map where these are going to go, how many there is. I remember 2. Andrew says this bid only includes 1. I did speak to Don on this item, I don't know, yesterday, I guess. Just making sure that we were talking about 2 items, not just 1. And we kind of came away with the meeting, I think, a similar understanding of the quantity. Long story short, I can't recommend this change. I just can't. The design that's out there is the design we're gonna have to live with until we have additional support. Or I really think we need a different engineering firm to look at how to correct the stormwater runoff. Because it wasn't addressed in this design. Why it wasn't, I cannot say that it was an F&D fault. As we're gonna find out, it's gonna be very expensive. And I surmise that the project was designed to a budget. And stormwater was one of those things that potentially we could leave off. But with 2 acres of hard pan surface to drain, you cannot. So I'm recommending that we do not act on change order 5. We just accept the project as it is. Molon will have to come back at least a couple of times next year to fix the erosion issues. I mean, they're bound to do that by the earth change permit and the contract as well. Correct. So, you know, I hate to put them through this because they're just gonna have lots of money tied up in it. That's,
Well, maybe we can look for future grants to correct this issue.
Yeah.
to pay for it. Since we're not acting on it today,
What are you
And
gonna
the
write a grant
changes-
for? Oops, we made a mistake.
Yeah.
no, we have a drainage issue. We have a runoff issue. To protect the lakes, I am sure there's grants out there. So that's what I'm referring to.
All of the slope water runs away from the lake as it is. And that was part of the boat wash thing.
Yep.
You know, we still have to get a discharge permit from the state of Michigan. And they require, I believe, a 1% slope away from the lake surface. And I think we have about a 2% slope. So, yeah, I don't know how the park is going to be able to keep up to the maintenance items that this new project has created. They are going to be substantial. Substantial.
Cause every time it's rains, you're gonna have to fix it.
Not only that, but I mean, the county truck turned around on the compacted new gravel and just, I mean, there's
Destroyed
ruts
it.
that you would twist your ankle in.
Yeah, tore it up.
Tore it up. And I don't want to say anything to the county because they're coming down there doing us a great solid by blading off the rest of Park Road and using the park as a turnaround. So I don't want to say anything to them, but I mean, every time they come down, that's for sure gonna have to happen. A road grade on our parking lot.
And that's just from them turning around.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I think what I'm asking for here is that, you know, the project was completed, over a month ago. And we got that 2-inch rain in October, which revealed this issue. This is not gonna fix the issue. This change order, number 5, is not gonna fix the issue. And, especially with no engineering drawing. I've got nothing to recommend this on.
I being out there for this meeting and in expectation of what I thought we would be getting back, I would concur. This doesn't I don't know that this solves the problem. It doesn't even address, there were the two areas, the area up by where the dumpsters are targeted to be located, and then the entire area going from the boat wash down to the current overflow parking lot. There were, like you said, they took one grade measurement, they took 100. And so they were going to do some stormwater runoff calculations and do some grade changes or propose some grade changes. Try to split some area along boat wash to the additional parking area into 2 type of drain areas into the woods that were there, and getting this riprap line ditch detail with no other documents is, and I don't know what they've done or haven't done, but this is certainly doesn't put forth any confidence that this is going to solve the problem, because I don't even know what they're going to do.
For example, line item number 33 is grade to meet proposed contours. There are no proposed contours. So,
Yeah.
Kind of incomplete.
Well, then there's the install the 20-foot riprap, and the question is, what's the location of that?
Yeah.
Because
I assume it's in a location down below, but I don't know.
I wouldn't make that assumption, but
So as a project manager, I guess I'm just gonna ask F&D to consider this,
Unacceptable.
well, I don't know how we deal with the punch list, for example, because clearly this is broken. And we're gonna be accepting a broken design, but it is what it is. And I don't know where we're at exactly, as far as expenditures on the park, but I believe we're somewhere between 581 and 587. And I think our original number is like 602 or 603, something like
That
that.
sounds,
We've only paid 2 pay applications.
3 and 4.
I don't have I don't have any other pay applications than, 2 and 1. We paid 2 first and then we paid 1.
You should,
I've not been submitted any other pay applications.
you should have pay application number 3 and 4.
Do not have it.
Okay,
If you send it, you're gonna need to resend it.
no, I put it in your mailbox.
You put a change order in my mailbox, that's not a pay application. We don't pay from change orders. That doesn't show the amount to be paid. That doesn't show the percentage of the work done. It doesn't. We don't pay from change orders. You've not put a pay application in my box since the last one, was number 1.
So I'm gonna ask them that we just close this project out. I don't know how we not accept it as being complete. Maybe the board wants to accept it as being complete, knowing that it is,
Incomplete?
well, the project is complete. It is built the way the drawings suggest. So in that respect, the project is complete and has been. So Molon has fulfilled their duties. F&V has fulfilled their professional service agreement. And I guess we just move on, find somebody else to correct the mistakes.
Is there gonna be a motion here?
So we don't have any way to withhold the last payment till they fix it?
Well, we can, but the question becomes, Heidi, if it was built the way it was engineered, who didn't do their job?
The engineer that went out there in the snow.
Or the board that didn't pick up on those problems,
Correct.
which puts it right back to this body, quite honestly.
Well, I think we need to hear from F&V what their side of it is. You're making some allegations here and I would like to hear their comments. I guess apparently they're not on Zoom. But I guess I'll give them a call. Ask them what their side of it is. I'd like to know.
But for today's meeting, we are not acting on this, correct?
I'm recommending that we not act on change order 5.
Is that something we need to put into a motion or just a consensus?
You know,
Cause it's not technically in our board package today,
well, it is under number 2, right?
but the actual document itself is not.
The actual document is not, but I did provide it to all board members here at this meeting. So the
Right,
fact that the document itself, change order number 5, isn't in our board packet, I don't know that that has bearing on it. I'll make a motion not to accept change order number 5. That'll clean this business up.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
Yeah, can you reread the motion, please?
Motion not to accept change order number 5.
thinking about that, maybe we should amend it by putting the project number on it. Of 842850.
And add the date as well. There's a date issued on here of 12/8.
What was that project number again?
842850.
And the date was
Dated
12/8.
12/8/2023.
12/8/2023.
Yes. So you amending your motion?
I am, sir.
I'll amend my second.
Roll call when ready.
Bennett,
Yes.
Baumuth,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, yes.
Item number 3 kind of ties in with item number 4. So I don't know, remember when it was, but it was sometime after we moved the ranger station. We thought about having a new transformer set and a new electrical service to feed the ranger station, the new location of the ranger station, and potentially a new water well, which we've been advised we need. And we also have electrical issues out there, not being able to supply enough current to the existing sites. So there is a spot right across from the entrance light pole where consumers could set a transformer. But we need the prints so we can go out for a bid. F&V was supposed to supply those prints. I don't know if they're still in work or not. I don't know, but we are gonna lose our window with consumers here within a few days. So
Cheryl, if you're gonna call I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, so my point is that I know nothing's gonna happen yet this year on that transformer set. It's just not. And so we'll just have to deal with it when we get the plan set.
I was gonna say that if Cheryl is planning on calling them anyway for clarification on this, on change order 5, that maybe you could ask about where they are with the plans, the site plan or the electrical upgrade, to see if they're actually working on it.
Well, that's not part of their professional services agreement here.
No, I know that, but Ron is saying they were asked to develop one. Is that correct?
Sure, I just wanted to make it known that it's not part of this project, part of the improvement project.
No, I understand that.
So that brings us to number 4. Understanding that, you know, likely we are not going to get a new transformer set, wired, so on and so forth before park opening. We need to get power back to the ranger station and to the boat wash area.
In the storage shed.
And the storage shed, thank you. So this was not part of the project originally. It was by others. So here we are at others. And so I'll make a motion to accept. And we have a lock.
They have money in the park fund to expense out this additional money? Well, I know we don't at this moment, but moving park money back. Cause we didn't plan for this in our budgeting process.
Well,
Yeah, right now, there's no money in the park fund.
I mean, you're right, we didn't. But we all remember seeing park ranger station relocation by others.
Mhm.
And so again, it kind of falls right back to our feet. If we'd prefer not to have power to the ranger station, then we can work with that too.
Of course, I'm not saying that.
Well, whatever it happens to be, I don't know what the right decision is, quite frankly. I'm concerned just about the building itself, right? Getting it back to a location and going through all that effort to do that. Will it stand up? I don't know.
Yeah, for our January meeting, I would like to, bring a motion to move money back from general to the park so that we can make it solvent again. And maybe that answers some of my questions on how are we going to expense this out? Because as it sits right now, the money needs to be moved back. And I'm going to propose the full amount that was moved to general be moved back. Just a heads up, that's what I'm gonna do next month, so that we can make this solvent, and then if there's issues, then there's going to be additional expenses for this electrical, that the money will be there in the fund to cover those expenses and our portion of the 200,000 matching grant funds.
As well as payroll
Payroll.
and other things that are being spent out of.
So just
Yeah,
a
we
heads
just
up, I'll
dropped
bring
off
that
another
next month.
invoice
I'll supply it
yesterday.
to you.
Last month was the second quarter budget amendments, I think, and none were put forth. So, you know,
I'll bring it.
No, this isn't a budget amendment.
I'll bring
You
it.
have to bring a budgeted transfer.
Yep.
It's a transfer between funds. That's not a budget amendment. Entirely different animal.
and I think both are the responsibility of a office in this.
They're not
building.
necessarily the responsibility of the clerk's office. I have always brought them, but you three are running the park and you know, right now you don't have any money in the park fund even to pay payroll that we're working on right now. And you need to get some of that money transferred back, and I have no idea how much you want transferred back, so I won't be bringing that motion.
I'm gonna bring it.
Okay,
No, I think I can do that.
You wanna do it?
I'll be happy to do another clerk's job. Yep.
I
Another
can,
one of our
I can do
jobs.
it.
Yep.
You're-
it's
You're
not
gonna
the clerk's
ask,
job. There's nothing in the policy that says the clerk has to do the budgeted transfers. The budgeted transfers are all right in the budget document. Anybody can bring them at any time and get money moved. The road fund's in the red too.
So back to packet page 176. I'm gonna make a motion to approve Voltage Electric's base bid proposal dated November 29th, 2023 in the amount of $8,200 to supply and install temporary power service to the ranger station, storage shed, and boat wash area. Work to include required electrical permits.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Pop,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Valmont,
Yes.
Goss, no, Glenn,
Yes.
Motion number two, motion to approve Voltage Electric's bid proposal dated November 29th, 2023 for necessary electrical repairs to the Ranger Station and storage shed in the amount of $1,250.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Valmont,
Yes.
Goss, no, Glenn,
Sorry, what did you call me? Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes. Third motion is to approve a 15% contingency on the totality of those two estimated repairs.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Goss, no, Glenn,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Valmont,
Yes.
Item number 5. You have a picture, let's see what. Packet page 183. East Bay Township has a couple of vehicles for sale. That might be advantageous to us.
Is it going to be primarily a park vehicle?
Well, that was my thought, right?
It's something that Andrew's going to be taking home with him?
No.
Okay,
This, we've talked about, and this could be too premature, and I'm totally fine with that. We had talked about potentially bringing mowing services in-house, right? And so we already have a trailer. I've done some initial outreach with the two equipment manufacturers or representatives here in the township to get some mowing equipment. So I'm trying to put that in motion for budget time. Unfortunately, this is a bid.
Right.
And we only have a few days to respond to it. If you think it's too early, it's too early.
well, the other question I had is estimated $3 to $5 grand for professional inspections and repairs. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. This truck is a 1998. So my experience with vehicles of that age, even if they only have few miles on it, I think this one's got like 57,000 miles on it. Not very many.
So this is a different vehicle than what's this?
It is.
Okay,
Yeah, this is a state truck versus a pickup.
So, just age, things rust and brake lines have a problem existing. Fuel lines on these trucks, because they're pressurized, often tend to leak. And so before we would put this old of a vehicle into service, I would expect to spend some money on it. The tires, they're probably fine. But the mechanical things that rust away, we would want to make sure that those were perfectly in perfect working order. So now fire chief actually likes this truck. And I apologize. I don't know why I didn't put it in the packet earlier. I think chief likes this one because it's red.
And it
Well-
has a snowplow.
Well, okay. If you've ever bought a used vehicle that was used for plowing, you want to know exactly how much plowing that vehicle did.
Yeah.
Because
you have a
plowing is
point.
hard on a vehicle.
You have a point. And this might not be the right time. But I thought, this particular red truck, it's set up for groundskeeping in the back. So there's, a rack that holds shovels and rakes and things like that. And then the main portion of the bed is left open for like their leaf blowers and weed trimmers and stuff like that. And so it's probably better suited for our mowing purposes. And in this packet, for comparison, you can see what a new truck is. So, do we spend 10 or 12,000 on something that's old, or do we buy something new at what, 46,000 when the time comes?
Yeah, I think that all depends on if you actually have a groundskeeper or a handyman that's doing these jobs. If we actually hire somebody for that position. Acme for many, many years has had somebody that takes care of all their buildings and their grounds. The mowing, the plowing, everything. So many years,
And so does East Bay.
yeah,
Yeah. So does
Many
East Bay.
townships do.
rather than contracting it out.
And by the way, those townships don't operate on 0.57 of a mil.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They don't. So, what's your thought? Is this too premature? Looking for direction.
Wasn't budgeted. I'm not sure there's money in the budget for it.
Okay, Don, thoughts?
The truck, a truck would be handy, given what is anticipated to be a higher scope of work there with all the work that's been done this past fall. However, the one concern that I have is, are we getting the right equipment for what we will actually need to be doing out there?
Mhm.
I mean, these are appealing, but I think I don't know that, are we trying to put a square peg into a round hole in this case?
That is the way we do things.
So, I think that, I appreciate the effort. I think that we should probably pass on this at this point in time. And as we get into the next season, I think as we see what happens in maintenance on the areas that have now been redeveloped, I think that'll lead us to potentially a better decision on what equipment we need out there.
Okay.
In the meantime, we just have to understand that not having that equipment or not having that, when we do the budgeting process, we're gonna need to budget some extra maintenance money because we're gonna have to outsource some of the repairs that we will not have equipment to do.
And keep in mind, if you're going to not hire an independent contractor and you're gonna do this in-house, you've got 2 cemeteries, parking lot at Tobico, parking lot at Lossy Road Nature Trail, this building, the fire station, all the mowing at High Prairie, which is substantial, and all the mowing at Whitewater Township Park. And the cemetery, those have cleanups too, and the township hall have cleanups.
Heidi, thoughts?
I think we ought to wait and put it in next year's budget for
Okay.
some kind of vehicle for the park.
And Ardella?
I agree with the statement on waiting. As far as the needs for the park is concerned,
Mhm.
if you believe that there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done on a regular basis, depending on the rainfall. Maybe what you're looking at is more of a Kubota type situation versus a vehicle. If you're strictly looking at it from, we're gonna hire a handyman that takes care of our grounds also, then you're looking at a truck, a vehicle of some sort. I see them as two separate things possibly.
And number 6, kind of, that list, I just received it the other day, from Kubota. I've had John Deere's for a while. During the budget process, I've asked these companies to, give us an idea of how much the tractor costs. These are not bids. They're, I said list price. I don't know if they're list prices or not, but it gives us an idea of, do we want a tractor with big tires on it or small tires, you know? And as an associated price with it. John Deere belongs to My Deal, so we can make a purchase through My Deal. Kubota belongs to a different different purchasing agreement. I forget what the name of it is, but Whitewater Township apparently has an account. And so oddly enough,
An account where?
it's a purchasing program like My Deal. But I think it's in competition actually with My Deal.
What's the name of it?
I forget what they've called it. Still waiting to hear back on, compensation for township employees using personal equipment like the tractor.
Or their personal workshops?
Yeah,
Same category.
it likely is, you know, so that's under item number 8. I don't know how the board wants to address this. Any thoughts?
We've sent a request to legal, right, to opinion on it.
Just for, the use of the tractor, I've not sent a request for, this. You know, the last time the township rented some space, I think was from, Brandon Hubble. And that was for the ambulance, the spare ambulance. So it was quite a while ago. And I think we just had a rental agreement, but that was to last multiple months. I don't think this is gonna be more than a month. You know, I don't know what it takes to refurbish signs.
Those signs have been refurbished in the last 10 years. Brian Cobb refurbished both of those signs during his employment with the park, and they're quite cheap signs.
They're
I guess you can
historical
refurbish
signs.
them if you want, but they probably should have been replaced.
They're historical signs. They've been with us a long time. They were special made for us.
Yep.
So
With decals is what they were first made with. BCNA sign is the same thing. That sign's in terrible shape. You can't even see it anymore. But
Maybe-
that's what they were. They were decals. I talked to Carol about it one time.
maybe what we should do is,
These are wooden signs, right, Don? Just
Yeah.
we're
correct
talking
me
about
if
the
I'm
wooden
wrong.
signs.
But when
they're
they
like-
were first
they
made,
were
they
like
had
this big.
decals on them. Oh, I know. I'm very familiar with the signs.
Don't try and pass them off as decals.
When they were first made, they had decals on them. Brian Cobb replaced those decals with routed letters or something like that. But I'm telling you, you can go over and look at the BCNA sign right now and tell that those were decals that were put on that wood. It's the same exact
But-
construction and sign and size and everything as High Prairie and Whitewater Township Park.
but these signs seem to need a lot of care. So
They do.
maybe it sounds blasphemous here, but maybe we should look at replacing them with a more modern sign that will hold up better, that we don't have to do constant repairs on. With that being said, it's hard to put something aside that has such history in it.
Well, you're gonna just be refurbishing them every 3-4 years
I know.
because
I know.
they're not gonna hold up.
You refurbish it one more time and hang it in the new ranger station.
Mhm.
Well, I make a motion to, send $300, I guess, Mike's way. As a stipend for using, his electricity, whatever space or workshop he has. I think that's a reasonable cost.
A reasonable cost for what period of time? I mean, by now, this is the first year Rangers have ever worked into December. We have his timesheet. It'd be cheaper to pay him unemployment than what we're paying right now. And for what time period is this? Because I can see another request coming down the pike for another time. So send $300 as a stipend for using his electricity. That's a lot of electricity. Whatever space or workshop he has, we don't have any details about it at all, but we're just gonna throw $300 out there.
Could he come back with us with a little more detailed plan? I'm gonna fix 20 signs. It's gonna take 10 hours.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no supporting documentation for this, justifying this expense. What are we gonna even pay from? Not from minutes. Where is some justification of this expense? And for what period of time it covers?
Well, we don't know what period of time it would cover, so it would cover the repair of the signs. That's what it is.
But we don't, we just had
Then Mike needs to
refurbish.
submit something in writing that, because we have to have something to attach to a check.
We currently have a
So-
motion, but we don't have a second, and we're discussing it.
I'll second for discussion purposes. My problem with this is there's no end. And not only that, there's no number on the signs. So I'd like to see project scope, just something. I'm gonna take 30, the park has 35 signs. I'm gonna take all 35, revamp, redo, blah, 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 blah. At least that gives me an idea that all of them are getting done. If I just vote for the $300, I have no idea how many, is that gonna include all of them?
Yeah.
It's like an open-ended
no
PO
idea.
here.
No idea.
So what you're looking for then, Heidi, is an asset record of the signs. And kind of which ones
Something.
are gonna get, okay, no, I'm here to listen, right? So. Tell me what you're thinking. So you would like to see the number of signs or a project scope.
And I'd also like him to put in his costs in there. How do we know we're giving him enough? And if he's gonna donate some and doesn't want money for it, then he needs to stipulate that too.
And we just. need
Well,
to-
and quite frankly, how much of his workshop is being taken up with this? Because if he's got a workshop and he's doing something else in there, we shouldn't be paying his entire electric bill.
Maybe you could find another spot for $300. Let's say it takes all winter to do 50 signs.
Put it on paper.
Well, I'm just
Put it on
asking.
paper. Put it on paper. I can't issue a PO and I'm not gonna send somebody a check without some description of what exactly we are paying for.
Well, this is only listing, unless I got it wrong, High Prairie Park and the Township Park signs. Is there other signs that are not listed on here?
Well, I think I said various signs in the,
You do, so
Yeah.
we don't know which ones are bad, what would
yeah,
have been really nice was to take an inventory. Here's all your signs, look at them.
yeah, and that's a great idea, Heidi. And I don't know that we have that. And so
Well, I
that-
need an inventory of what he wants to do here. He's got a great idea, but I need an explanation of the idea. I need a plan.
Okay, and if we're paying this $300 for the use of his garage, are we also paying an hourly wage?
I would think so, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I need him to come back to me with what his expectations here.
Okay.
Because this isn't expectations, this is here's a blank check.
And
not-
I would like to
can't
know how
do
many
that.
hours he estimates it's gonna take, so
Absolutely.
that it's not open-ended.
That's right.
You know, what about the trail signs? I mean, are there other signs that he's not including that are trashed? We don't know. So I mean, it's a great project if he wants to go and do it, but I need to see the project.
So we're not approving the project, right? And that's not part of what this item is. We're not approving the project.
I don't think we
The
should.
signs are gonna be maintained.
Well,
That's gonna happen.
how about-
Where they get maintained is the
Or how.
emphasis.
Or
No,
how.
or not even how.
Well, right now,
Well,
where are
like
the
Heidi
signs right
says, we
now?
need a plan. What's the plan?
Sure. So we'll just get a plan.
I would like to see the employee. I mean, this is his idea. He apparently wants to do it. He apparently has the ability to do it, but I need to know how many, I need a timeline, and I need to know how long this is gonna take to complete. You know, is he gonna do 50 sign, let's say we have 100 signs. Is he doing 25
Is that
season?
gonna include, I don't see a timeline coming forward on this. I mean, we don't ask for a timeline to shovel out the ash pits, right? So we're not bidding out the project.
However, if he's going to repair 3 wooden signs and we're paying him an hourly wage, I'd like an estimate from him how many hours he thinks it may take. So that we don't think that it's gonna take him 30 hours to do and he comes in with 60 hours.
Right, cause it's
You-
just
you
saying the
found
main,
it?
That's right.
So,
the main sign at
We
High
have
Prairie.
these not to exceed purchase orders, and now all of a sudden we're asked to be asked to write a blank check with no description of what the work is that's going to be done, provided in writing by this person.
So do we provide that same description when we shovel out the ash pits? That's all I'm asking.
Well, they're getting paid, they're not using their own
That's an hourly.
facilities for that, and they're getting paid by the hour.
That's an hourly job.
So that's a park ranger duty.
But here's the
this is
problem.
a specialty
You're
thing
not-
that's not normally
You're asking him
asked
to,
of the park rangers.
One
to
park ranger's asking to do
refurbish
this.
these wooden signs.
So
And I,
it's,
and I thought we were just talking about the wooden signs.
and you're asking for him to be paid money towards expenses of his personal location, which again, I don't know how we can do
I
that.
don't know how you're doing
Because
it.
you have another employee's request to be paid for when she brings her tractor down. And apparently the gas she puts in her tractor and stuff like that. To me, this is the same thing. It's somebody being asked, and it's an employee asking to use their personal location or equipment, tools, whatever, and
If he
be paid
burns
for
down his
that.
house,
And
am
to
I
me, it's gotta-
responsible?
I don't know how we do that, to tell you the truth.
Maybe Ron, instead of looking at it from paying $300 for the use of his garage and an hourly wage to work on these signs in his garage, we just pay an advanced higher wage and call it a contract service. Where he does it, I don't care. I'm not renting his building. Far-fetched, but let's say he's putting a
Varnish that.
product on one of our signs and it catches his garage on fire. Who's responsible for that? He's working on something for us.
He would be,
And
he
but
would
the
be a
$300
private
is like
contractor at
renting
that
his
point.
building
Yeah, that
without
gets into
providing
insurance.
insurance.
Yeah.
So
He'd be a
maybe
private
what we do is
contractor.
we look at it, a different avenue is if he normally makes $20 an hour, we pay him something higher than that to do the job and we pay the materials.
So what I've heard several times is it's just like the tractor, which went to legal. Is there a thought process that we just add this to the tractor question? Okay, so this isn't a tractor, this is an actual building. Does the opinion change any?
How about this? What if we, apparently, it's a job, it's a function. So we have to refurbish our signs, whether we like it or not, or we have to buy some new ones. So you're either gonna contract with someone to give you all your signs redone, and it's a flat amount. But here, you want to use one of your employees. Is it possible to have it, first I want to see a plan, so maybe somebody goes around and takes pictures, and you'd have to pay this person maybe to do this, I don't know. They run around, they take pictures of all the signs, here's all your signs. Here's what I recommend, well, is everybody 100% busy all through park season? Maybe not, maybe this is a project that starts in the spring and then is done at the park. Don't know. Usually when employees want to do something, they usually come up with the plan and then go, here, I got this idea.
Well, maybe we don't treat them as an employee. Maybe we treat them as a subcontract person for a specific job in this incident. And in this particular case, he's not an employee.
Then he would get.
He's saying, I'm gonna redo your signs and this is X amount of dollars it's gonna cost you. I don't care where he does it.
Well, then he's gonna have to carry his own insurance and everything that are the requirements of our independent contractor agreement.
How did you get these signs done last time?
They
Brian
were done
Kaufman-
during the season when it was nice out and they could be done outside. They were down temporarily.
You know, do you make it a Boy
I think
Scout
this is a
project?
make work project for Mike and I think it's something that, is just not really the time of year for, there's no place to do it. We have no building and grounds, like a garage somewhere or something like that that's heated that he can do this in. And so I just see, how, we don't have the plan. How long is it gonna take and what's the cost gonna be? And the board can approve something concrete and we have nothing.
I just see this as a little premature.
Okay, so the notes I have is, project scope, create a sign asset record or an inventory record. Is that right, Heidi?
Yep.
Estimate of cost of the workshop. And then, Cheryl, you wanted a timeline. Okay, so that's probably a time estimate is what I've called it. Does that seem right? Okay.
Yeah, is the $300 gonna cover his
So
electricity for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months?
So that was for the space, not necessarily for an estimate to repair the signs. You want an estimate of the shop costs.
If he's gonna do it this time of year, can't do it outside at the park.
Right. No, I
So-
understand. Yeah.
Right.
So your timeline was with respect to the shop, not necessarily the
The whole
signs.
thing.
For example,
The whole thing.
I can, one time this summer, somebody went to use the dog doo-doo thing and the sign broke off at the ground level. So I can see posts that need to be replaced on these signs, a host of things. So it's not just the sign post might also
Well,
need
shouldn't
some
we have-
attention.
Shouldn't we be having Andrew do this?
Somebody
Inventory
should be
list,
auditing it.
in this, part of his job is the manager.
What is Andrew doing right now?
So to my knowledge, this is a project that Andrew assigned to Mike. And Andrew, to my knowledge, is looking at reservation systems, emergency action plan.
Credit card processors.
Yeah, so, I mean. Andrew works for the board, so if the board has questions for Andrew, I mean, do you want Andrew at these meetings?
Well,
I think it would
Andrew
be
should be at these
appropriate.
meetings for the park, for
It'd be
any
nice to get-
park, agenda items. I'm not sure why he's not here, and it's my understanding he hasn't shown up at very many Parks and Rec Committee meetings either.
I would like to see him make it up to the board,
That's not a fair
just
statement.
like,
He showed up
you
in
know,
October, or no, he showed up in October. He
departments
showed
do.
up in November.
Okay.
One
And I would like to see
conversation.
That was by design.
Right. We started May 1st. I mean, he's supposed to be working with the Parks and Rec Committee. He does need to know what the Parks and Rec Committee is doing. He may have input he can offer on some of the things that they're doing. He should be going to all of the Parks and Rec Committee meetings.
here's the thing though, we need to tell him we want him to.
Yeah,
That's
Then once
right.
we
It
get the
needs to
Job
be
description
directed.
doesn't already say that.
Well, I would like to see him come to our regular meeting where we get all the other verbal reports and written reports. I'd like to see that. I think he's gotten enough time under his belt now that I think he could handle it.
Maybe an action plan. I don't know.
okay. So, in this business item, the very last sentence is, and I think I've asked this question once or twice already, so I'll re-ask it because I missed the answer. Should this item just be added to the tractor question already in legal? Does it matter if it's
Yes,
a tractor
In my opinion,
or a building?
I would say yes. Added to it.
I'd add it too, because if somebody's
it's
gonna
the
do
same
work
scenario
outside,
As the other employee request to use personal equipment, whether it's a building, equipment, tools. Whatever, it's all in the same category. In my opinion.
I don't know. I need to follow up with them on the tractor issue. I did once, and then I think it's fallen off of my follow-up list.
Oh, are you removing your motion then? Rescinding your motion?
No, I think I want to take that to roll call vote. That way we'll dispose of the motion. Heidi, I think you seconded it
I
for
did for discussion.
conversation. Yeah. So roll call when ready.
Glenn,
No.
Pop,
No,
Snow Valmuth,
No,
Bennett,
No.
Don, tell them to look at it like an employee making a suggestion on a project. Maybe, I don't know, a suggestion, here's what we need. And maybe that's the direction Andrew goes, is to take it to the Parks and Rec and say, hey, I got this problem. How do you think I should solve it? I don't know. But they all should be working hand in hand, not against each other.
I'll oppose that comment.
Okay,
What you suggest is a utopian view and that's terrific.
it's just
But-
a suggestion.
But we do hire management to make certain level decisions. And whether or not a sign needs maintenance is not a board function.
No,
It does
it's
not
amazing.
rise to that level. That is something that I would expect a management person to be able to ascertain.
and quite frankly, following up on that, then the management should have, gotten all the information together, to show,
That there was a
the
problem.
timeline expenses, what the manager should have put the plan together that we don't have here. The manager should have put the plan together and then we would have had something concrete to vote on.
The manager was not expecting micro management of his decisions. And I'll once again say, you do not approve labor expenses to clean out the fire pits.
Yeah, but
Why
That's
would
because
we?
they're already being paid for it.
the only exception I will take with that, Ron, is that if you're cleaning out the fire pits, you're there working a shift and that's part of your job duty.
That's right.
This is something
Additional.
above and beyond what we ask our rangers to do. And as far as
That's right.
micromanaging, that's not my intent here. But if it's not budgeted for and it's something new, he needs to put it in his plan for budget season so that we can add it to what we're doing, so the money is there for it, you
Sure.
know?
I'd like to see a.
Yeah,
his
this
budget.
motion wasn't even in the packet, I don't believe.
No.
So it came out of the blue to send $300
And that
Mike's
doesn't make
way.
it wrong. But
Okay,
that
but
does not
no
make it wrong.
documentation, again, no documentation was supplied. And that's why we can't make a decision on it, because we don't have any details.
Is it possible to let Andrew know that come budget time, we'd like to see his plan? It's hard to give people money and budget for them if they're not standing here going, we need this, 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 and this, and this is how we're gonna get there. That's how you come up with the budget. You can't just say, well, the park might need $150,000 worth of crap.
Well, Chief does it every year.
Yeah, that's right.
When he made that asset list for us
Right.
years ago.
But at least we knew what we had.
And when I was managing the park, you got from me every year a description of the projects that were going to be done under the 930 line item, facility repairs and maintenance, and the projects that were going to be done under 970 capital expenditure for both the park fund and the rec fund. That detail was provided at budget time when we went over those. So yeah, Andrew needs to be doing some planning and figuring out what's your plan for the next fiscal year.
And you know, just having simple conversations
And
with
get
him, I don't
quotes.
think this is gonna be an issue for him. I think he's gonna wanna
No.
participate in the budget
Exactly.
process.
Exactly.
And maybe he's gonna have to come forth and tell us that you got a drainage problem you gotta address. Maybe he's got some ideas on that. I mean, everything that we're gonna experience an issue with, somebody should be bringing it at budget time going, you got this, 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 and this. Now what?
Let me be
asking.
perfectly clear. You don't have enough money to take care of the problem that was created at the park.
It was an example, Ron.
I'm
It
just,
was
I'm
an
just, I'm
example.
just answering your example. I
Okay.
don't need Andrew to tell me. So
But how do you address
Moving on.
something if it's not on the table?
We're not accomplishing anything
Correct.
here. Let's move on to the
we've
next
already
agenda
voted
item.
on this topic, so it's done.
Yeah,
If you had something to say, conversation is over.
Okey dokey.
move on, and get something done here.
We are about to approach our 3-hour mark.
I would really like a bathroom break.
Same.
Want to take a 15-minute break?
I would like that very much, yes.
Let it be 11:52. So let's show up at 12:10. Close enough?
That works for me. See that?
You can use the men's. It's pretty similar if you want. I wouldn't use the one on the wall. I'd use the one mounted to the floor. Well, just trying to be
Maybe
helpful.
we should just have bathroom on the wall instead of men and women.
All right, what else do we got? What?
No, tomorrow. Yeah. Is- Hi. There is, but we're temporarily in a break. What can we help with?
I would speak with you.
So, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with it. So that is open to all hunting.
It is.
It's public land.
Okay.
No permission is needed.
No permission is needed. Okay,
Um,
so.
Proper licensing
Yeah.
is required,
Yeah,
proper safety protocol,
yeah.
but
You'll
it's,
just get your blinds out, do all that kind of stuff.
yeah, no blinds. To
Removable.
to my knowledge, removable blinds are allowed. Yep. But that's the only,
That's it. then.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I thought I read on there, permission from Whitewater, so I wanted to double check.
Yeah, not to my knowledge.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, thank
It,
you.
it might be in the rules, but we're supposed to follow the DNR, just like it would
Yeah.
be a state piece of land.
Okay.
And so you don't get permission from the governor every time you wanna
Right.
hunt.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
So really, we are getting, with our end of it, next week, we are, coming in, understanding that what's happening over the past, or whether it's recommended to access the township. It's only one section. And, so that's kind of been, coming from that direction. We never did. Anyway, for the.
Going awry with his computer.
Okay,
Happened twice already this morning. We were here, working on things, and all of a sudden it crashes and restarts. And then I can, I go back to, let's say, Adobe Acrobat, it will restore those documents when I open Adobe back up. But, Did you have somebody set this up or did you set this up?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if next time it happened, if I could get might be able to get a screenshot of the message. That message and type.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so mine also restarts every once in a while.
Mine.
It goes blue screen?
No. No, well, I don't know because mine's on all the time. So I don't shut it down. And,
I get a blue screen that says, we're collecting data from a restart error. Please be patient, and then it'll just restart itself. But it's like collecting information to send it to a troubleshooting. You know, I assume that's
It's the exact same thing that happened with me when I was doing the minutes. It kept just. I thought it was me.
yeah, so, let's have, whoever,
I'll get a screenshot of it next time. See that. That'd be helpful. It only had happened, it happened once. Since I've had a computer, it happened once, then it happened once this weekend, and I just, thought it was an aberration. And then, but it happened twice just in this morning. So I will try to get a screenshot and I think that'll narrow it down rather than guess. Okay. So, I mean, it's not a problem, everything's saving, but it's just it's just a bugaboo.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when I crashed here, we were between things, and so I could, it doesn't take longer to restart, so I was able to get back.
mine locked up here today.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, on the last business item, I couldn't flip pages for some reason.
Huh.
I lost mine in the PC meeting. It just kept.
So I guess, why don't we, get a purchase order from the clerk? And,
Check them.
NetLink can remote in.
Oh.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. So that's what I'd recommend. NetLink Business Solutions. I deal with Bill. No, no. Mine's old enough where.
I thought it was me. I thought it was operational error. But I get the same thing. It just goes blue. But I haven't looked for any. I mean, I'll start looking and take pictures.
Yeah. Well, actually,
Don, do you have that on? Mine happens like when it's only been on for like 10 or 15 minutes.
Mine's on for an hour or two.
Cause I thought it was me. Am I hitting something? But it just, it did it in the PC meeting. That's why I bought this, because it takes so long for it to reboot up.
well, I was thinking, you know.
You lose where you were supposed to be at.
Living on the road.
But it goes right back to where you were, I mean, where you were at. It doesn't.
So
wipe
I'll
anything
call
out.
that, call that link and get a PO for remote diagnostic for yours and mine, so,
Just to make sure that,
yeah. I agree.
What happened to those pipings? I can get it. Well, some did it experience, but Anderson was primarily. That was my. Input. Funding. And it was made wide, you know, medical consulting. Each a little lighter than on 3 feet. 3 feet.
Just for the record, your board review meeting is showing up on the calendar today.
Yeah, it sure is.
Oh, maybe it is today. Yeah, it is. Yep, 3 o'clock. Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too. That's a fun meeting.
I didn't mean to,
It's 12:10. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
I am.
Nope.
It's just longer,
Looks good.
longer. And died.
We'll reconvene at 12:11, I guess. No doubt, right? New business number 1, I believe, is where we're at. Make a motion to adopt the zoning administrator job description as amended 12/12/2023.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion.
I have a couple things.
Gentlemen. Thank you.
What you got?
Let me get to it. Under hours of work,
Page is that on, Ardella?
um,
Oh, page 190.
190. I was right back there and could have grabbed my cheaters instead of doing that. Where it says hours per week on 2 different days of office hours, I think. I don't agree with it for the 2 days thing. We're gonna have a hard time finding somebody that's gonna travel here for 4 hours.
It says
I
eight.
mean, because you're not necessarily gonna have somebody that lives in your community. Such as we have now, so Bob would have to travel from the Cadillac area to be here for 2 hours twice a week, and that's unreasonable when he's can do the job in 8 hours in one day. So I don't agree with that.
Okay, so do you agree with moving it from 4 to 8?
2 days a week, 8 hours.
No. Do you agree with moving it from 4 to 8 hours a week?
Yes, but not 2
Not
days.
divided over 2 days, okay?
Yes,
So what about going to 8 hours for 2 days?
so 16 hours a week. Yeah, I would be in favor of that.
Heidi, what's your thought?
That's pretty much what it says. Well, if somebody's gonna do compliance, you gotta do your work one day and then go out in the field the next, so you're gonna need 2 days.
I mean, this is really maybe just a starting point. Maybe we put a minimum and not get rid of that aura of maybe, well, this is all we have to do.
It's a good thought, because I mean, this job description is closer to our current needs and what I would certainly forecast as being where I think we're headed on future needs. And I think that, putting in there, adding in, providing at least a minimum of
16 hours a week. Or you're gonna do a minimum of 10.
Well, just 8 hours per week on 2 different days. I agree with Ardella. I think 16 is the right number. Start pushing code enforcement.
Yeah. I'm comfortable with that.
What salary range are you
At
expecting to
least
find
a
someone to fill
minimum
this
of
position?
8 hours.
Obviously Cheryl will. be
2
paid
days
more.
per week. And then we would drop. Well, we would leave office hours. The rest of that red stuff there on 2 different days would be deleted.
Yeah.
Right?
I think you could just read it back, see how it reads.
So the zoning administrator shall be considered a part-time employee or independent contractor working a flexible schedule up to 24 hours per week, providing at least a
16.
minimum of 8 hours, 2 days per week of office hours.
Do we want to soften that office hours? Because we would want field work too.
Right.
You just.
Well, it has to encompass all of it. How many hours do you want the person to work? There's weeks they're not gonna stay busy. Like right now, they're not gonna need to be here that much, but, when the
There's always
things
something to-
ramp up again, then
But there's always something to do paperwork wise, organization wise. I mean, during your busy times is when the stacks start getting higher, and your down times is when you put that into some kind of an organization that other people can follow when you're not around anymore. So my thinking is that if we're paying for somebody to be here 2 days a week, even if it's not busy time, they're gonna be productive. There's other things to be done.
and also at least a minimum is redundant. You would take,
Try to drop lease to just say.
Yeah. so you're proposing that this person will be here 2 8-hour days per week?
Yep. We used to have 3.
Yeah.
Person was here 3 days a week.
And we
And-
paid a lot more money too.
And so, thinking who said soften the office hours comment?
I did.
Okay, building on that, what about if we added office/field hours?
It covers both.
Yeah, I think that was slice.
And the second thing I have, where I consider myself a treasurer, I think you meant treasurers. On number 14.
Uh,
A lot of people consider me a treasurer, but you know.
I see. Treasurer's office. Mhm.
And then the last thing I have is number 17, performs other duties as assigned by the board. It seems too vague. What would somebody be signing on to? I mean, could we have them out cutting the grass? Yeah, it's too vague. If you're going to add that, you're gonna wanna put some specifications in there, within this realm. Other assigned other duties pertaining to zoning and planning.
Zoning, planning and compliance.
Right, you can't just say other duties assigned by the board,
I believe that is what the other one said.
but it's wrong then,
Well,
in my
No, you
opinion.
have it in red here, so it's not in the other one, right? Everything red is new?
but I think it got renumbered into 17. I'm not sure why it appeared that way, but maybe it didn't appear. Maybe that came from the attorneys.
Yeah.
Who wrote this, by the way?
Did you read the intro?
Yeah,
Okay. So what about did you say perform other duties related to zoning and ordinance?
Zoning, planning and enforcement. Isn't that what you?
And, yeah, zoning, planning and code enforcement.
Other duties related?
I would put
to-
maybe just zoning as related to zoning administration and code enforcement. No, I think I like my original first, never mind.
I like
Okay.
the original
like
because
that
you're not including meetings and stuff. Other meetings you might
planning.
want them to go to.
Code compliance.
So I have number 17 reading, performs other duties related to zoning, planning, and code compliance as assigned by the board.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any other recommendations?
I have some other comments, but not recommendations.
Roll call when ready.
Yes, comment.
So my comments are that, well, first is a question, because this will be needed for budget purposes. In what salary range are you expecting to find someone to fill this position? I mean, 30 grand, 40, 50 a year?
I would say, as with most job postings, pay is based upon what that person brings to the table. We can certainly establish a pay range here if you would like to do that.
Well, you know, that's something that's not on the salary wage schedule, and it probably should be. Honestly, that's a position, because if it's gonna be an employee, you know, because a job description is typically for an employee. And an independent contractor, as Bob is, their contract outlines what their duties and scope of work is, as well as their pay and that type of thing. So I think that's something that we need to add to the salary wage schedule, is what would an employee, zoning administrator get paid with this job description?
I think,
What's the minimum? What's the maximum?
I don't think that's something that we need to decide today. I think we need
No,
to
no.
take that up at budget time. But also, I think a subcontractor could adopt your job description and say, this is what they will provide according to your job description. Also, besides, you know, them having an independent job description of their own, if they agree to your job description, that would become a part of their contract.
Yeah, exactly.
think
It'd
so.
become an attachment to their contract or
Right.
something, right? Also, is Bob Hall
To- To
proposed?
finish up your question, do we want to have a salary range, establish a salary range for this?
Not today. I don't think it belongs in your job description.
Okay. Sorry, Cheryl, to interrupt.
Well, once again, we do have like the fire chief and the park manager and various, and I get it, we're not gonna do it today, but I think it's something we need to be thinking ahead. And we need to add that to the salary wage document. Also, my last question is Bob Hall's proposed new contract going to be put on an agenda for board consideration? And if so, when?
So it's my intent to see what's out there. And Bob Hall is welcome to, once this is approved, Bob Hall is welcome to adopt, as Ardella says. But obviously there are several concerns in his existing agreement. And so yes, the answer to your question is yes.
So it is going to be brought to the board for consideration.
Mhm.
And the second part of the question is when?
After this gets posted and we see what's out there. So
What do
I
you
don't
mean
know.
by see what's out there?
I fully intend to advertise this.
Okay, has the board decided that this is what we want to do? You can't just do this on your own, Ron.
I don't believe I am.
Okay. Well, I don't remember a motion being brought forward saying we're looking for a new zoning administrator. And we're gonna put this in
Yeah.
publications and stuff. Did I miss that conversation? I mean, I had to leave for that treasurer's meeting last week, but.
No,
or
it wasn't
last month.
discussed. Wasn't discussed that this was gonna be put out
Okay.
for advertisement for.
That's
position.
Fair enough.
something the board has to do.
Totally agree, totally agree. So if the board decides to do that, terrific. But I fully intend to ask the board to do that.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just, protocol.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
And once again, if you're planning on putting that out there, then you've got it, then that really makes the salary range even more critical. Because if you're gonna take some applications, you're gonna get questions from people. And also, that's kind of a little bogus thing to do there. We've got a zoning administrator and you're gonna put an exploratory ad out to see who else might be interested in the position. And one of the first things they're gonna ask is, because every potential candidate does ask this, is what's the pay gonna be? And yet we have no salary range established for a zoning administrator. So to me, that's a little underhanded to be putting a job description out there and taking applicants for it, and you don't have a salary range, and you also currently have someone in the position. That seems a little shaky to me, and I don't want to be any part of that.
Okay. So we're currently reviewing the job description. Are there any other comments on the document itself?
I have no further comments on the job description.
Heidi?
Mine's already been satisfied in previous discussion.
Okay. Roll call when ready.
Baumuth,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, no.
I think we already did Park and Recs Advisory Committee. And so then we will move on to Planning Commission reappointments. I make a motion to confirm the recommendation of the supervisor appointing Linda Slopsma to a 3-year term position on the Whitewater Township Planning Commission. The term shall end December 31st, 2026.
Just to be clear, this is a reaffirming of,
So like my memo says, I didn't know really how to treat this, right? Linda's a special case. So she took over for someone that only had 2 or
Months
3
left.
months to go on their officially appointed term. And so I do consider this an actual reappointment, but when we look at our policy and procedure, before a person can be reappointed, they have to meet these criteria. Training generally speaking. Linda, I don't think has had that opportunity to do so. So,
Just for the record, I'm gonna second that so we can continue this conversation, so.
you trapped me, Ardell.
Sorry,
So
sorry, Don. No problem.
you were saying about.
Yeah, so I guess I consider her a reappointment, but special considerations for the obvious sections of our general ordinance that I put in here. Any further questions? Roll call when ready.
Goss, no. Valmuth,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Bennett,
No.
The next one for information is Al Keaton.
Make a motion to confirm the recommendation of the supervisor appointing Al Keaton to a 3-year position on the Whitewater Township Planning Commission. The term will end on December 31st, 2026.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Further comments or discussion? Roll call when ready.
Bennett,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, yes. Valmuth,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes. Looking at PrAC reappointments. A motion to confirm the recommendation of the supervisor appointing Melissa Melton to a 3-year position on the Whitewater Township Park and Recreation Advisory Committee. The term will end on December 31st, 2026.
Are you making that motion?
I am making that motion.
I'm seconding.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion. Roll call when ready.
Pop,
Yes.
Goss. Yes. Valmuth,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Glenn,
No.
Second recommendation is a motion to confirm the recommendation of the supervisor appointing Brandon Hubble to a 3-year position on the Whitewater Township Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. The term will end on December 31st, 2026.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion. Roll call when ready.
Glenn,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Goss, yes. Valmuth,
Yes.
I think that brings us up to new business number 5.
I'll make a motion to approve and contract Gosling Zubik for engineering services as per quoted on November 1st, 2023 for $1,740 to create a site plan layout drawing for the proposed additional toddler playground equipment at the Whitewater Township Park Campground.
I will second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? So I thought there was a concern about the limited use of the playground that's there. Why are we extending it? Is it because the campground user ages are too little for the equipment that's there?
My personal opinion, based on what I saw at the campground this summer, I believe that we do not have age appropriate equipment for toddlers. I think that everything is 5 and older, and I think we have a fair amount of families that there would this. On the surface, this play structure seems like a nice fit for that. Now, question is whether it can fit in, but I think it is age appropriate equipment for the families that we get out there.
And
There's only one piece of equipment out there that's for age 2 to 12. Everything else is 5 to 12.
Just the toddler swing.
No, there's no toddler swing out there. There's the merry-go-round is 2 to 12.
No, there's the bucket swing, which is 2 to 12 or 2 to 5.
The bucket swing that got installed somewhere.
Yeah, it's been out there all summer.
Who put that in? Because that wasn't approved by the playground person.
It was approved by the playground person.
Where is it?
Which
It's not on the
section?
blue structure, correct?
No, it's on it's on the swing structure. I
But
can't tell you
you
which
can't-
position it's in.
No, I get that, but you can't mix a bucket swing like that with another type of swing. It has to be in its own, it has to be in its own structure.
Structure.
Yeah, you can't, that bucket swing was taken down because, and stored away because, it can't be up on the blue structure.
So no, we'll look into that.
Because that is, that equipment there, that's a 5 to 12. The decals are right on it. I put them on myself to comply with that lady's
So, just for clarification, the bucket swing is for toddlers. They fit inside.
yeah. The black thing.
I
that
know, but
wraps
I thought-
around.
You know, I'm not questioning you, Cheryl. I'm just saying some of the parks that I've taken my grandkids to in Traverse City, they have a long line of swings and part of them is those bucket ones.
When Kathleen, I believe her name was, came out there was no bucket swing installed. She did not approve a bucket swing on that playground.
Oh, so
There
you're
was
not
no
saying
bucket
they
swing.
can't be there. It just was not approved at the time.
No, it can't be next to
A
a
regular swing.
regular swing, a belt swing. It cannot be next to a regular belt swing or any wood or whatever. It has to be in its own framing. Yeah, well, but if the bays out there there's 2 belt swings in one and 2 belt swings in the next. It can't be on that structure at all. Because that structure is rated for 5 to 12. That is the decals that the inspector directed had to be installed on that structure, as well as on the monkey bars, and the only thing that's for 2 to 12 is the merry-go-round. So if that bucket swing was put up I know it wasn't out there when she approved it because we took it down because the prior playground inspector alerted us to the fact that it could not be installed next to a belt swing and next to a swing and that toddler thing, that is for children under 5, and the swing set structure is rated for 5 to 12-year-olds. So that was put up, somebody took a belt swing down and put that up after her inspection. That has to be taken down. Now you can buy their own thing for a toddler swing. You can buy those frames for a toddler swing, but they can't be hanging on a swing set that is rated for 5 to 12-year-olds.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking of a handicap swing. Cause I've seen a handicap and a toddler together.
Do we have any other questions on this? So I'm a bit confused. I apologize. I could not determine from the information provided whether or not the site plan is required for them to take into account all safety zones.
On page 207, Ron, I think, section 1.0. Assessing, let's see, assessing existing conditions and locate a new toddler playground piece with appropriate fall zone distance.
I actually made my notes on your report, so I have to
Okay.
go up
I think that might address that.
because I did read that. And I had a contradictory statement later on, I thought.
Does what people supplying this playground equipment, are they inspecting it after installation or do we have to do that?
No, that would have to be.
That's additional? Okay.
Thank you for allowing me time to find my spot. I'd actually made my notes for this business item under Don's liaison report. So the last bullet point in section 1 indicates that the optional topographic survey performs topographical survey of existing playground area, locating surrounding surface elements and existing playground pieces. A topographical survey would be used for high accuracy layout and geo-reference to allow for construction staking, layout of new elements if needed, so on and so forth. So I found the two statements contradictory to one another.
I could see why you would get there.
And so I wondered if, quite honestly, I wondered if our new appointee, who has significant more experience with this kind of stuff than I do, playground specifically, or landscaping specifically, if it wouldn't be wise that this didn't get acted on right now and maybe went back to the committee for discussion with Gary's presence.
And it's interesting to see no fuel surcharge. If the freight's subject to a fuel surcharge, usually it's a percentage. That doesn't go up and down when they feel like it. It's usually a flat fee.
What was that comment, Heidi? I'm sorry.
It says freight subject to fuel charge. Okay, well, in the freight, it says 1435. It just says shipping charges. Normally, when you're putting a fuel surcharge on there, it's a flat amount.
We're not
already
approving that,
established.
Heidi. That's just a representative example of what they're
Okay.
interested in purchasing. This is about a plan.
And in the plan, normally you put all your expenses, Cheryl, and a fuel surcharge. If it's gonna be an expense, it should be in there.
But
Not
they're not
just a
asking
guess.
for approving of this, buying this particular item.
Okay.
Oh, I see where you're at, Heidi. Okay. Yeah, and
This
so
quote's old anyway.
I have notes on that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
This quote is well outdated
It's just
and so,
by way of example.
yeah,
I think they're trying to show us the piece of equipment they would like to purchase.
yeah.
And how it would fit into this engineering layout that which
Mhm.
is what we're looking for.
Yeah. And now we have a question about a swing too, right? So, can I put words in your mouth, Don? Sure. All right. I'm imagining a conversation that took place, while thinking this up. Yeah, we have a toddler swing. And then it got dropped. So now if we actually have to plan for a toddler swing on a different structure completely, as Cheryl indicates we do, maybe our plan needs to change a little bit here, our scope of plan. Just a thought.
I have a question. You scoped that you didn't have toddler equipment, but did you scope a handicap need at all? Just throwing it out there.
For sure, no.
Okay.
They're not trying to make it a handicap accessible playground.
That wasn't the question, but okay.
Yeah, no, I like the way you think, Heidi. Matter of fact, I've taken several images of other people's handicap section of their playground.
He
Yeah.
has a swing.
Well, I just thought it might be a nice idea. I mean,
You scope
Well,
that
then you've
you,
gotta have pathways, hard surface pathways to the pieces of equipment that are handicap accessible. Like if you're gonna put in a swing or something like that, you've gotta have hard surface pathways to that.
I get that, but you scope
Very
whether
costly.
you needed a toddler park or equipment. You're scoping a different entity. Did you? You can't just leave people out. Either you scope everyone or how about this? How about we just scope? Okay, we're gonna go, you call us 911, we're gonna send a fire truck over there. But we forgot to tell you that we're 600 pounds and we can't get out of bed. So your scope has to be the entire equation, or is it really a full scope?
To answer your question, Heidi, yes, you can leave people out. I would rather see the handicap swings put in at High Prairie, where more of our citizens would actually be able to use it versus them driving into the campground to use it.
I
You know,
completely get
you've
it,
got
but
the-
you
you've
scope
got the
toddlers.
pavilion there, you've got the basketball, you've got the playground equipment, obviously, and the tennis. That would be more where our citizens would go to do things with their family versus driving into the campground to use that playground setup.
building on that comment, I thought that's where the toddler, I thought that was the board's last consensus, that that's where the toddler equipment was gonna go, was at High Bray.
Well, yeah, I
When I
did too,
saw-
Ron, but maybe I misunderstood that.
So
I think there's already toddler equipment
I was
over
gonna say, I
there.
thought we already did that. Okay,
Well, you have to go over there and look at the equipment because it all has decals on it. Saying what ages that equipment is rated for. And that's per the inspector. Designating those pieces as such.
it's just my opinion that if we're gonna put in handicap swings, I'd rather see it at high grade.
yeah, I think that's a solid recommendation. Mhm. Yeah. Because just by the park's very nature of being secluded, one would think you have to be camping there to use the
Yeah,
facilities, right? I mean, just because of where it's located within the park, for example.
or where you're gonna park, if you're not at a campsite.
Yeah, and so it really even kind of shuns those people who might day use the park from using the playground.
Well, we used to have two,
Yeah, used to.
but they were so outdated and
They were
In such
dangerous
bad-
and we had
yeah.
to take those out. They were
Yeah.
way out of compliance with
Understood.
safety.
who knows, maybe someday we'll have another playground area for the day use.
Yeah.
Not today.
Right.
But future.
So
I'd like to take a vote on it.
Okay.
Rather than just setting it aside. So,
I don't think the.
I don't, how do you vote on
necessarily-
it?
I don't think it was absolutely necessary to set it aside. It was just to use the experience of a new alternative PrAC member to weigh in on a discussion with the PrAC to make sure that
Oh, your
we're getting the right engineering plan for what they're proposing to do. I think it just delays it by 30 days. I think that the PrAC meeting's next week and, you know, I would
As long as we are making that message clear. You know, to the PrAC, that's all our intention was, nothing else.
well, I was gonna say, Melissa said earlier that she would be on Zoom. I see her name is still registered. Maybe she has a better clue of whether or not we need to have both items. I don't see how a topographical survey, which generally gives us the profile of the land, right?
Yeah,
Not the floor plan, the overall view. So I'm not sure how a topographical print is helpful to locate the equipment. My only thought is with that detail that they would use to get a topographical survey, that the equipment would be automatically then pinned, if you will.
Well, it says that, talks about geo-reference placement to allow for construction staking.
Right,
layout.
which we're gonna need.
Yeah.
Right.
what have we learned about placement?
Yeah, it is all to my point.
Yeah.
No doubt. And I tell you, what I've learned on the park, just because an engineer says, yeah, we can drain all this water this way, doesn't mean it should be built that way. Does not. And so my thought was, we could ask Melissa, or we can just go ahead and approve both items, right? With then putting the onus back on PrAC. Let's see, who needs to sign this agreement? One of us needs to sign it. So whoever signs it would make a determination of or clarify the work scope that's in number one.
Well, the motion is to create a site plan layout drawing for the proposed additional toddler playground equipment. I mean, to me, you just approve that. They're going to go out there, they're going to take measurements, they're going to determine without doing a topographical survey, whether there is space enough with the fall zones for this proposed piece of equipment to go in there. To me, they're only asking to take this first step, and maybe they'll have to do a different piece of equipment or something. I don't know.
But at
But
least
you
they'll
are
know.
going to get a site plan layout drawing for this playground equipment from which you can determine whether the fall zones can be met or not.
Bullet point number 2 says the drawing will not be geo-referenced or suitable for construction staking.
Sure.
So
Because
there's
the
no
drawing
way
will
you're gonna be
change.
able to. I'm taking that, there's no way that you can locate or tell whether or not you have enough. Safety zone or fall zone, whatever they're called.
Well, sure, that's what they say they're gonna do.
That's what they say they're not going to do.
No, they said they're not going to computerize it to something that can be used for actual construction. But they can take measurements and make a determination whether Pratt can even continue to look at this piece of equipment or not. Maybe this piece of equipment's too big. I don't know. Why would you get a topographic survey when you don't even know if the space, you don't have a preliminary indication whether the space is sufficient for this piece of equipment? You know, there was some trees planted out there. It has to be away from, all those things. So is there enough room? I don't know what size this piece of equipment is here. Maybe they're gonna have to pick something smaller.
If you look, Ron, assess the bullet point next, assess existing conditions and locate a new toddler playground piece that have with appropriate fall zones at distances. At the risk of, I mean, it's always less expensive when they come out there and do all the work at once. But if the spacing as it exists today doesn't allow for proper fall zones, then, does the issue go away? If it does allow for it, then is the next step that you're going to approve the equipment, and in conjunction with that, a topographical survey that will geo-reference and do the construction staking layout. Is that really, the topo was really part 2 with the equipment? Because if you're not pushing that forward, and the topo may, instead of costing you $1,500, may cost you $1,750 because they have to go back a second time. That seems, but I think to the point that if we don't even know if it fits, and that's what the 1740 is for, to try to evaluate that. Okay, that's my interpretation of it, so.
My only other comment is in the terms and conditions. Of course, it's my standard comment about ownership of documents. I disagree with that. So I just needed to say my piece. Other than that, are there any other comments? Any reason why we can't vote? Roll call when ready.
Eric,
Yes.
Valmir,
Yes.
Pop,
No.
Glenn,
Yes.
gosh, yes.
No tabled item, board comments or discussions. Special joint meeting, December 13th, 2023. And regular township board meeting, January 9th, 2024. Public comment. Those of you in Zoom land, if you would use the raise your hand function, we will come back to you shortly. Anyone here in Township Hall wishing to make the public comment? All right. Zoom land. Anyone wishing to make a public comment? Seeing none. Motion to adjourn.
Make the motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Okay. Oh, you're seconding? Go ahead.
Doesn't matter. Roll call when ready.
Bennett,
Yes.
Goss, yes, Glenn,
Yes.
Valmuth,
Yes.
Pop.
Yes. 1 p.m.